Chapter 193. While washing the cups, Lu Qing was waiting for his girlfriend to be moved by his thoughtfulness. He didn't expect to be greeted with such words. For a moment he was confused, wronged, and a little confused. If I were to use you as a tool to vent, then why do I have to endure so much pain every time? If I were to use you as a tool to vent, then why do I have to test your attitude every time before I dare to take a step further? He turned his head and saw the complicated emotions in the girl's eyes. Then he took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down so that his explanation wouldn't turn into a dispute. How could I use you as that kind of tool? Don't I dare to continue every time only when you don't object? If you don't like it, you can tell me. You can just show it. I can definitely hold it in and won't force you. When he said the last sentence, he felt that he couldn't control his emotions and was a little agitated, so he kept repeating the words calm down and communicate. Xianxia seemed to have calmed down and wasn't as agitated as before. Her nose was a little blocked and she said anxiously, "That's not what I mean. I mean every time we are alone, you act like your mind is full of that kind of thing. You act like you're always thinking about that kind of thing. You act like you're always thinking about that kind of thing. You act like you're always thinking about that kind of thing when we're alone." Her words were a little messy, but she didn't look away. She looked straight at Lu Qing, pursed her lips and said, "Sometimes I'm not very willing, but I feel that you like it very much. I'm afraid that you'll be disappointed and unhappy, so I still cooperate with you." Speaking of this, she paused and sniffed. Her eyes became a little redder. To be honest, Lu Qing felt a little disappointed and hurt in his heart. But when he heard Xianxia's words, he felt her grievance, her tolerance, and her concession. Immediately, most of the emotions in his heart dissipated. He seriously examined his performance during this time. It seemed, probably, that he always unconsciously let the two of them be filled with hormones when they were alone. He exhaled the turbid breath just now and said, "You mean you don't like it every time? You mean I act like I'm only thinking about that kind of thing? You hope that we can do something else when we are alone? If you don't like it, you must show it. Although I'm more attentive in other aspects, I'm not that sensitive in this kind of thing. If you don't say it or don't object, I'll think that you like it very much." As he said this, he felt a little funny and a little bit sentimental because he remembered a sentence by Little Ming. Sometimes a girl's willing is liking and sometimes not liking, but sometimes their willingness doesn't necessarily mean they don't like it. Yes, not it. It. 2. Take it slow. Wait for me. Take it slow. Wait for me. Seeing Xianxia like this and hearing her words, Lu Qing's remaining emotions completely disappeared. He pursed his lips and promised seriously, "I'll control myself. I'll wait for you." While the electric kettle was turning on, he put down the cup and took a step forward. He took Xianxia's hand and pulled her into his arms. He didn't kiss her but just wanted to hold her quietly. Xianxia hugged his back and buried her face in his shoulder. After a while she said softly, "I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. When I was at the ranking event, I was actually very touched and happy to see that you could endure for me. However, you always acted like you were thinking about that kind of thing, which made me a little confused. I thought that since I was on my period, I could take the opportunity to see your reaction. I wanted to see if you were disappointed, depressed, indifferent, or something else. In the end, you already knew and didn't feel disappointed at all. You even tried your best to take care of me and even prepared ginger tea. I feel a little guilty. I feel that I misunderstood you, so I plucked up the courage to tell you my thoughts and communicate with you. Don't let these things hurt our relationship bit by bit." She raised her head. She was a little embarrassed and couldn't bring herself to say it, but she still pursed her lips and looked at Lu Qing earnestly. "Qing, I'm sorry. What I said at the beginning was a little harsh. No, it's not what I really think. It's just that I've thought about a few expressions just now, but I felt that they were either too tactful or too coquettish. I couldn't let you know my attitude clearly. I was afraid that you wouldn't take it seriously, so I said those words. You don't need to apologize between us." Lu Qing stroked her hair and thought for a while. "At first, I felt a little hurt and couldn't believe that you actually thought of me like this. But after hearing your grievance and concession, I felt that it was nothing, and it was a girl's period. It was completely understandable." Xianxia's beautiful eyebrows relaxed and finally showed a faint smile. She lowered her head and buried it in Lu Qing's shoulder. She said in a low voice, "It's nothing. Two people can't only give and endure one-sided. I can feel your heart, so I want to do the same. Next time when you don't like it, you must express it. I'm very stupid. I'm afraid that I'll misunderstand your meaning. Now I don't even know when to kiss and when not to kiss." Lu Qing said with some distress. Xianxia's pretty face pressed on his shoulder. She laughed in a muffled voice. Idiot. Atmosphere. Feeling. Do you understand? I don't understand. What do you mean by atmosphere right? What do you mean by feeling right? You don't have any quantitative standards. Lu Qing was sweating. When he was about to say something more, he heard the sound of the electric kettle turning on and off. He let go of her and waited for the boiling sound to stop. Then he heated the cup again with boiling water. Then he tore open the packaging and put in the brown sugar ginger tea. Finally, he ran the supernatural ability of frost to reduce the temperature to a level where it would not burn his tongue. The housekeeping supernatural ability was really good. Xianxia stood beside him, quietly watching him busying himself. Her eyes were sparkling and the corners of her mouth curved into a smile that seemed to be both happy and warm. It's done. Lu Qing passed the cup to her. Xianxia took it with both hands and sat on the edge of the bed. She closed her eyes and took a deep sip. Then she smiled and said, I've always heard about this kind of tea. But I don't like the taste of ginger. So every time I put it in the shopping cart I didn't buy it. Did I pick the wrong one? Lu Qing asked with some annoyance. Usually when they were eating he would pay attention to the girl's habits. When he found that she didn't reject the ginger in the dishes and soup, he thought that she would accept the ginger tea. But this kind of thing couldn't be asked directly. That would be the end of the surprise. Xianxia smiled and took another sip from the cup. Her cheeks were rosy because of the heat. She looked to the side and said calmly, You're right. Now I like it. I like the boy who cares about my period. I like his carefulness when he's busy. I like the way he tolerates my stubbornness and willfulness. That's good. Lu Qing breathed a sigh of relief and sat beside Xianxia. He thought for a while and said, Ku, I need to talk to you about two things. What is it? Xianxia blinked and looked at him. Her eyes were still a little red. Lu Qing chose his words carefully and said, You said that my reaction was too big and scared you. But this is my instinct. I can't control it even if I want to. You're so beautiful and so tempting in my heart. I'm full of vigor and I like you so much. Even if I don't think about dirty things in my mind, I can't help but have a reaction most of the time. It's not that I want to do whatever I want. It's not that I only want to take advantage of you. I hope you can understand. Really? Xianxia bit her lips and looked a little curious. Lu Qing said sincerely, Really? You can ask your best friends. Okay. Xianxia nodded thoughtfully. What's the second thing? Lu Qing smiled and said, In fact, even if your period didn't come, I think I can still control it at the last moment. First, I don't think I have the ability to shoulder your future. Besides, I promised Empress Dowager. I always feel that her eyes are watching me from afar. It's quite stressful. Second, I fear suspicion and lack of confidence the most in a long-distance relationship. I want to show you that even in front of the girl I love, I can still control it if no one stops me. Not to mention those flirtatious bitches out there. I hope I can give you confidence in this way so that our relationship can go on forever. Do you think I'm thinking too far ahead and seem a little silly? Xianxia couldn't help but laugh. She rolled her eyes and said, Of course not. I like this silly look of yours. I like that you think too far ahead for our future. She held the cup and slowly finished the brown sugar ginger tea. She exhaled and said, I feel much better. Do you still want to go out for supper? Lu Qing asked. Xianxia pressed her belly with her right hand and thought for a while. Let me relax a little more. Speaking of this, she pursed her lips and turned her head to the side. Blushing, she hummed and said, You made me very emotional today. Rub my belly as punishment. Lu Qing was pleasantly surprised. Xianxia took off her shoes and curled up with her back to Lu Qing. Her black hair covered the white pillow. Lu Qing gestured to her and carefully lay on his side behind her. His left hand went around her waist and reached for her belly. At this moment, Xianxia hummed in a low voice. You're pressing on my hair. Ah. Lu Qing hurriedly raised his upper body and let her gather her hair. Then he dared to lie down. His left hand touched Xianxia's belly through the t-shirt. After rubbing for a while, Xianxia suddenly said softly, You can reach in and rub. Your hand is hot. Lu Qing looked at her in surprise. He saw that she was still lying on her side and didn't turn around. Her black hair was like a waterfall and her ears were bright red. Taking a breath, he carefully opened the t-shirt and put his hand in. But the first thing he touched was the feeling of a piece of paper. What's this? He asked subconsciously. Xianxia was embarrassed and annoyed. Sanitary pads. Ah. Lu Qing was confused. He had only heard of sanitary pads. It's the upgraded version of sanitary pads. You don't have to worry about leakage. Xianxia explained shyly. Oh, sanitary pads in the shape of pants? Lu Qing suddenly understood. He put his hand in a little and touched her belly. Then he began to rub it carefully. Lu Qing couldn't help but have a little reaction. But soon he restrained himself and stopped thinking about it. He recalled what had happened before and thought about what the girl had said. Usually Xianxia was a beautiful and gentle girl. She was gentle on the outside but delicate on the inside. She was mature and cute at the same time. But was this the complete her? No, just now she had her own opinion, bottom line, courage and persistence. No wonder Empress Dowager said she was stubborn in her bones. And she could think about what kind of words were more appropriate. She would choose the former between effect and tone. Compared to other girls who were tactful and reserved, she could speak frankly and fearlessly when necessary. No wonder she had rejected so many boys but didn't have any scandals. She didn't have too many pestering pursuers. I'm still too immature. Fortunately, Xianxia is willing to communicate with me instead of keeping it in her heart. It would be troublesome if a small problem became a big problem. While rubbing, he heard Xianxia's breath become long and steady. He looked up and found that the girl had fallen into a deep sleep. The torment of menstruation and emotional turmoil made her physically and mentally exhausted. Lu Qing looked at her quietly without any thoughts. In this quiet and warm atmosphere, he also felt a little sleepy and wanted to synchronize his breath with Xianxia's. Sleep for half an hour. He rubbed and unconsciously closed his eyes. When he woke up abruptly and looked at his phone, it was almost 1 o'clock. So he forcibly pulled himself out of the warm and fragrant quilt, carefully got off the bed and covered the girl's legs with the quilt again. During this process, he hesitated for a while whether to help Xianxia take off her pants. But he was afraid of being misunderstood, so he restrained himself. He turned off the light and tiptoed to the door. What time is it? Suddenly Xianxia, who had lost the warmth on her back, asked in a daze. Lu Qing stopped and turned back. It's almost 1 o'clock. Xianxia turned on the bedside lamp and struggled to get up. She sleepily walked to the suitcase and took out a set of pajamas and a bag of things. When she passed by Lu Qing and entered the bathroom, she lowered her head and said in a low voice, "You can sleep here tonight. You can't sleep if you keep going back and forth. And you can continue to rub my belly." "Yes, rub your belly." Lu Qing looked at her in surprise and saw the girl's face as red as blood. She closed the door of the bathroom with a bang. Sleep with her? Lu Qing was stunned and immediately felt a strong surge of joy. Although he couldn't do anything, he always felt that it was very good. Xianxia changed into her underwear, washed her face and brushed her teeth. She walked out of the bathroom and didn't dare to look at Lu Qing. "Go wash up. Stinks." Lu Qing laughed and cleaned himself up after a while. When he returned to the room, Xianxia was lying on her side again with her back to him. Her body was completely buried in the quilt. Her black hair was like a cloud, setting off her small oval face. Under the dim bedside lamp, everything was so warm. Lu Qing held his breath and came to the bedside. He hesitated for a while whether to take off his pants. But in the end he carefully took them off, pulled the quilt and got in. A burst of fragrance hit him. He took a breath and lay down cautiously. Then he heard the girl moan again. "You are pressing on my hair." "This?" Lu Qing was confused. "Why does this always happen? In the future, when we vote for the most words between a man and a woman lying on the bed, if the woman has long hair, I will definitely choose, 'You are pressing on my hair.'" He raised his upper body again and tucked Xianxia's hair back. Then he turned off the bedside lamp and lay on his side. He put his left hand around her waist and stretched it to the same place, continuing to massage. Under the quilt, the girl's thin pajamas assaulted him. Lu Qing couldn't help but have a reaction again. "I will hold it back. It's instinct." Lu Qing felt the girl's body stiffen and hurriedly explained. Xianxia didn't turn around and said in the quilt, "I believe you, I believe you." Hearing these 4 words, Lu Qing suddenly felt that his previous efforts were worth it. His eyes became hot and he massaged more carefully. The two of them chatted casually. Soon Xianxia fell asleep again. Lu Qing concealed his spirit and qi and fell into a deep sleep soon after. At 5:30 in the morning he woke up naturally. He saw the dim light from outside and saw the soft body in his arms and the sweet fragrance. It was an indescribably beautiful picture. He resisted the throbbing and struggled to leave the bed of warmth. He didn't want to wake the girl up, so he planned to go back to his room to wash up. At this moment, Xianxia felt his departure and turned around subconsciously. However, she didn't catch him. She opened her eyes in a daze and said slowly, "You are up?" "Yes." Lu Qing knelt on the bed, lowered his head and gently kissed her lips. Xianxia raised her hands and put them around his neck. She muttered, "I haven't brushed my teeth yet." Hearing this, Lu Qing laughed secretly. He lowered his head again and kissed her deeply without any lust. After the kiss, Xianxia withdrew her hands and looked at him coquettishly and lazily. "Remember to buy me breakfast when you come back." "Okay." Lu Qing agreed with a smile. He put on his clothes and left the room with light steps. Walking in the dim corridor, he felt unusually satisfied and warm. There was an indescribable happiness. The scene just now seemed to be a scene he had dreamed of for a long time. After marriage, every morning. Chapter 194. Back in his room, Lu Qing put on the navy blue Longhu Club martial arts suit and put in his cell phone and room card. When he was about to go out, he turned around and walked to the bed. He took out his wallet, took out 2 $100 notes and put them together with the room card. Although it was convenient to pay by mobile phone and sometimes it didn't matter if he didn't carry money, he was traveling and didn't know what was going on. It was better to carry some money in case of an accident. When he went downstairs, the fresh and refreshing air came into his nose. Lu Qing took 2 deep breaths and felt comfortable both physically and mentally. He identified the direction in the morning mist and jogged slowly to the road on the right according to the map he had read before. After passing through 2 streets, he arrived at a temporarily empty and quiet square. He found a corner and got into a stance to practice pole standing. Starting from yin and yang, he focused on the inner practice of thunder roar zen. He visualized the thunder cloud in his mind, which affected the muscles in his abdomen and brought out a rhythmic low rumble of thunder from his throat. The muscles all over his body followed the rhythm, sometimes tightening, sometimes exploding, creating a slight vibration inside to temper his bones, marrow, blood, and organs. Compared to the time when he faced Mo Zizong's elephant trumpet, his bone marrow was condensed and his blood was running like a big river with vigorous vitality, washing and polishing every part of his body. Thump, thump, thump. Lu Qing slightly controlled his heartbeat, making it sometimes intense and sometimes slow, so as to influence other viscera. Combined with the thunder vibration, they completed the wriggling together. This was the sign that his martial arts had been practiced into his bones and was about to be practiced into his body. At that time he would reach the peak of body refining and be able to integrate his internal and external forces into one. He would be able to control the muscles and bones that he couldn't control in the past and do all kinds of things that ordinary people found inconceivable. For example, when he reached the danchi stage, he could cover his ears by himself. He had been training like this for nearly 50 minutes. The bright moon in the sky finally disappeared and the morning sun shone down, illuminating the darkness and dispelling the thin fog. At first, Lu Qing was the only one in the square and all was quiet. Later, morning trainers of all ages and ages started to appear one after another. The low rumbling sound of thunder came from Lu Qing's body, attracting the attention of all the men and women who passed by him. Those who were more experienced changed their expressions slightly, their eyes filled with awe and yearning. Prolonged training was harmful to the body. The sound of blood flowing in Lu Qing's body gradually slowed down. His wriggling abdomen also gradually stopped. In the beginning he could only train for 20 minutes. Now he could train for 48 minutes. It was enough to show the improvement of his body and the strengthening of his bone marrow, blood, and organs. Opening his eyes, he slowly began to practice the training routines from 24 blizzard strikes, to big and small hand wrap, and then to thunder roar zen, and mainly allocated his time to the latter. Thunder roar zen didn't seem to pose any difficulty to him after he started practicing it. But when he started practicing it, Lu Qing had new feelings and experiences every day. He had unearthed a lot of hidden meanings. Only recently did he feel that he had reached a higher level. However, he underestimated the difficulty of combining Thunder Roar Zen and Frost Force. After more than a month, he barely touched the threshold of the killing move, Severe Warning. Lu Qing wasn't anxious about this. His body hadn't reached the peak of body refining, so he couldn't rush other things. Moreover, according to his master, Severe Warning was a simplified version of physical invulnerability moves, so it wasn't easy to master. After practicing one round, due to the limited environment and the crowd, he didn't practice his moves. Instead, he stood still and practiced Ice Mirror again. Combined with the inward vision brought by the Jin Dan, he tried again and again, but the result was no surprise. He failed shamefully every time. But during this process, his eyes, ears, mouth, nose, soul, spirit, and other senses were gradually transforming. At 7:40, he exhaled a mouthful of turbid air, put away his stance, wiped his sweat, and walked back along the road where the street lights were out. He felt full of spirit and vigorous qi and blood, with an inexplicable certainty. His relationship with xianxia from the beginning to the end was too beautiful to be real. It always made him feel insecure, like it was a dream, and when he woke up, everything would be gone. But after the emotional communication last night, he realized that a lot of the beautiful things were exchanged for by xianxia's obedience, compromise, and tolerance. If it continued without him noticing it, and his behavior didn't change much, it was very likely to develop from quantitative change to qualitative change, and become the source of quarrels, contradictions, and even breakup. Ku's words last night were a little hurtful, but because of this he remembered it clearly. Every time he thought of it, his heart would tighten and he would shiver. The false veil of pure beauty was removed, and the differences in ideas, thoughts, and habits between a man and a woman began to show. They started to get along, but Lu Qing didn't feel regret. Instead, he felt more grounded because this way they would last for a long time. His little fairy was floating in the sky, and one day he would be unable to touch her. When she turned back to xianxia and fell to the ground, she would be the girl he could live with. If he didn't care about her, if he didn't think about the future, he wouldn't have said that out loud. Lu Qing walked forward confidently. The insecurity he felt in the past when he was always afraid of losing xianxia was made up a lot. After walking for a few minutes, he saw rows of breakfast stalls in front of the community. They were steaming and giving off the smell of life. What should I eat? What should I buy for Ku? Lu Qing looked around and chose a noodle stall first. After a few glances, he ordered a bowl of noodles with zhajiang sauce and a bowl of braised beef noodles. The stall owner had seen a lot of customers with a big appetite. He didn't ask if Lu Qing was alone or with two people. After a shout, he picked up enough noodles and put them into a big iron pot. While waiting, Lu Qing found a table at random and sat next to it. Looking at the poor people who had to work overtime during the holidays and watching them pick and choose at the breakfast stalls, he suddenly felt a little more relaxed. Not long after, 2 bowls of noodles were served. Lu Qing didn't eat in a hurry. He took a picture first and planned to send it to xianxia later. He would ask her what she wanted to eat. If she didn't wake up or didn't know what to eat, he would make the decision himself. He ate in full swing. He felt that this stall had a lot of ingredients. The stewed beef was very soft, and the sauce was very fragrant. Except for the quality of the noodles, it was good. He finished the 2 bowls of noodles quickly. After asking the stall owner if he could pay with his mobile phone, he had to take out the cash. After that, he strolled around the breakfast stalls leisurely. Sometimes he would eat a bowl of wonton, and sometimes he would eat a tray of soup dumplings. This reminded him of the first few years of primary school and middle school when his father's company was close to bankruptcy. The uncles and aunties in the community lived a hard life. They either went out to work or set up stalls to make a living. Therefore, at that time, there were many breakfast stalls in the community and outside the school. Many of them were acquaintances. However, he didn't have a big appetite back then. He couldn't eat one stall after another like now. Wang Su, on the other hand, grew up early and had a strong body. He had to eat 3 or 4 stalls every day to be full. His family was even more poor than his own. Sometimes he would ask for credit, but he never said that he wouldn't pay back. Even after he entered the society, he didn't eat and drink for free. Because of this little bit of behavior, he always thought that his nature was not bad. When he was almost done, Lu Qing sent a picture of the food to xianxia on QQ and recommended the breakfast that he identified as clean and good. After waiting for a few minutes, he didn't get a reply from xianxia. He put away his phone and went back to a stall. He asked for a tray of soup dumplings and a bowl of braised beef noodles. Carrying 2 sets of food in his right hand, he quickened his pace in case it would be bad if it got cold. When he was about to turn the corner, he suddenly heard a panicked shout in front of him. Thief! Thief! Oh. Lu Qing looked up and saw a girl in her 20s stumbling to catch up with a skinny young man. He pursed his lips and observed for a while. Then he took 2 steps to the left and happened to pass by the young man. Then he quietly stretched out his foot to the side. Thump! The young man tripped and immediately lost his center of gravity. He tried to stabilize himself with some kung fu, but it was too slow. In the end, he fell heavily on the ground and was chased a few steps away by the girl. He turned over and stood up. He took out a dagger from his waist and waved it a few times with a fierce look. Lu Qing suddenly rushed to the front of the young man. He grabbed the dagger with his left hand and twisted it skillfully. The dagger fell to the ground with a clang. He leaned his body and controlled his strength to hit the young man. The young man almost stopped breathing and staggered to the ground again. The girl caught him and took back the phone from his pocket. Many people had come over and the young man had lost his strength to fight back. Lu Qing, who was anxious to send breakfast to his girlfriend, turned around and walked away. During the smooth movement just now, he kept his right hand steady and didn't let the soup spill. The girl saw that some people helped to hold down the young man. She hurriedly turned around and shouted to Lu Cheng's back, "Thank you. Don't go." She shouted and chased after him. It seemed that she wanted to thank him in person. Lu Cheng didn't turn around. Instead he sped up. He waved his left hand and answered happily, "You're welcome. Please call me Red Scarf." The girl had been chasing the young man for a while and was exhausted. She had to stop and breathe heavily. Then she seized the time to take a picture of Lu Cheng's back with her phone. Click. She looked at Lu Cheng's shabby navy blue Longhu Club martial arts suit and the 2 boxes in his right hand. She exhaled and posted the picture on her WeChat Moments with the caption, "Super handsome and awesome delivery boy." When Lu Cheng was about to return to the hotel, he finally saw Xianxia's reply. She said with a pitiful face, "Cheng, where are you? Miss me?" Lu Cheng replied with a naughty smile. Xianxia sent a sad emoji biting her handkerchief and said, "Well, I feel a little scared when I wake up in a strange place. I miss you a little. Hey, I'm about to enter the elevator." This was the first time that Lu Cheng felt a girl's attachment. He was suddenly excited. After what happened last night, the relationship between Ku and I seemed to have improved. He came to Xianxia's door and knocked twice. Then the door opened with a squeak. Xianxia was wearing the light-colored pajamas with cartoon patterns from last night. She looked at Lu Cheng with a smile and said, "I feel like you bought me noodles, steamed buns and youqiao. Except for the youqiao, everything is right." Lu Cheng immediately laughed and said, "Our hearts are in sync." Hey. Xianxia laughed and took the food. She sat at the table and started to eat. Lu Cheng stood beside her and admired her small but fast-eating manner. While glancing at her, he found that her eyes were slightly swollen. He blurted out, "Last night I thought you would cry?" Xianxia tapped her chin with her chopsticks and said while thinking, "I cry when I read novels and TV series. When I'm moved I cry. When I'm really sad, wronged or painful I won't cry. I'm very tolerant." "Humph, do you want me to cry?" "No, I'm just curious. I've never seen you cry since we met," Lu Cheng said with a smile. Xianxia picked up a steamed bun and put it near her mouth. She gave him a stare. After the girl finished breakfast, Lu Cheng planned to go back to his room to take a shower and change clothes before leaving for the mountain. He had just walked a few steps out of the door when he suddenly heard Xianxia call softly, "Cheng, Lu Cheng looked back and saw the girl leaning against the door with half of her head. She said with a blush, "I'm talking about getting along like last night?" There was no taste of lust, only the closeness of heart to heart. "I like it too," Lu Cheng said with a sincere smile. At this time he suddenly thought of Xianxia's words last night. Sometimes she is not very willing to be intimate. So sometimes is she very willing to be intimate? Alas, a girl's mind is really hard to understand. They smiled at each other and went back to their rooms. Lu Cheng was about to take a shower when he heard his phone ring. He picked it up and saw that it was Casanova Little Ming. "Talker, why are you calling me so early in the morning instead of whispering sweet nothings to your girlfriend?" Lu Cheng said sarcastically. Kai Zhongming snorted and said, "When are you going back to Songqing? My wife thinks that you are a very good friend. You have taken good care of me, helped me quit smoking and more or less quit drinking. Now that I have a new goal and motivation, she wants to treat you to a meal and thank you." Yes, these are her original words. How can I think the same? I'm clearly the one who's teaching you. I'm the one who's acting as your emotional consultant and making you mature. Damn, you're quite a tsundere. Lu Cheng almost burst out laughing, but he still said emotionally, "We're good friends, right? It is really a lucky thing to meet a good friend who can help each other." Kai Zhongming was silent for a while and said, "Cheng, did you hit your head? Are you possessed by someone's spirit? I don't think it's a problem if you insult me, call me a bitch, or ask me to get lost. But you suddenly call me good friend. My hair is standing up, okay?" Lu Cheng felt like he was splashed with cold water. He could only twitch his mouth and said, "I have never seen a person who doesn't listen to good words and wants to be scolded. Well, when are you going back to Songqing?" Kai Zhongming laughed. Lu Cheng answered honestly, "The afternoon of the 3rd. Okay, I will set it at night. Anyway, her flight is on the morning of the 4th. If Xianxia is willing, she can come too. Then you will be more restrained. If you dare to speak ill of me, I will expose your embarrassing things." Kai Zhongming added fiercely, and hung up the phone. Lu Cheng held the phone with a smile on his face. He was quite interested in this invitation. He was just curious and wanted to see what the girl who could make the Casanova surrender was like. Chapter 195. After a shower, Lu Cheng changed into a white t-shirt, jeans and dark blue sneakers. He looked in the mirror and thought he was not handsome, but he was clean and energetic, warm and confident. There was also a vigorous and high-spirited aura between his eyebrows. The latter was the result of reaching the peak of body refining and the vigorous chi and blood to a certain extent. I wonder if I'll wear matching outfits with Ko? He brushed his hair and smiled to himself. He was about to go out, but after thinking for a while, he turned back and took out a thin jacket from his backpack. Although he was full of vigor and wasn't afraid of the temperature difference on the mountain, it was a burden to carry a jacket. However, Ko was in the middle of her period. She was weak and cold. When they reached the glass bridge, she might feel cold in the strong wind blowing through the canyon. At that time, this jacket would come in handy. Well, it's better to be prepared for anything. Knock, knock, knock. He knocked on the girl's door. It didn't take long for Xianxia to pull open the door. Wait for a while. She seemed to feel that this was against her principle of not letting people wait, so she added, I don't look good. I have to do something to my face. It was her first trip with her boyfriend, so there must be something like taking photos. She couldn't be careless. Okay. Lu Qing walked in with a smile and stood at the door of the bathroom. He watched her apply the cream on her face and found that her face was indeed pale because of blood loss. What are you looking at? Go sit in the room. Xianxia said coquettishly. I've never seen it before. I always feel that it's a very complicated and magical skill. Lu Qing said with a smile. He never paid attention to whether his mother would apply cream or not. Isn't that a little unfilial? Xianxia pinned her hair to one side with a hairpin, which looked very cute. She glanced at her boyfriend and said, I only know a little. Every time my mother taught me, I didn't pay much attention. It's hard to give up on a natural beauty. Lu Qing said half jokingly and half sincerely. Xianxia smiled and showed her dimples. She didn't say anything but felt a little proud. She seemed to feel that her boyfriend's praise came from the heart. Only then did Lu Qing notice that his girlfriend was also wearing a white t-shirt and jeans, but she was wearing white sneakers. The letters on her t-shirt had also changed from yesterday's letters to today's black pattern. We're going to wear couple outfits, he said in surprise. This was exactly what he had expected. Was this what it meant to have a tacit understanding of each other? I noticed it a long time ago. You didn't realize it until we opened the door. Xianxia replied in a light tone. She didn't want to continue the topic of matching outfits. Didn't I care about your complexion first? Lu Qing ridiculed but said with a smile, You deserve to be a detective. Your observation skills are really good. Of course. Xianxia raised her chin. Now that he had a sense of security, Lu Qing was less cautious and said whatever came to his mind. Ku, you seem to have a lot of white t-shirts. They were all about the same. Wouldn't it be too monotonous? Yes, Xianxia said casually. Different styles, different patterns and different patterns. It's very complicated. Lu Qing could only answer in this way. At this time Xianxia's face was almost done. Her lips were pink and tender, which made her complexion look better. Lu Qing wanted to kiss her, but he controlled himself with difficulty. Complicated? Xianxia turned her head and chuckled. You'll know how complicated a girl's clothes are in the future. By the way, I read a post about this before. It said that the leggings, which are all the same in the eyes of boys, are actually divided into thick ones, thin ones, flannel ones, non-flannel ones, non-revealing ones, half-revealing ones and combinations of them at will? Just thinking about it gave Lu Qing a headache. But he liked Xianxia's, I'll wait for you in the future. It sounded like they would be together forever. Xianxia pursed her lips and nodded solemnly. That's it. Then she joked, That's why I said that most of you boys live too coarse a life. Hello, coarse man. For a moment Lu Qing was speechless. After thinking about it carefully, it seemed to be true. He could only watch his girlfriend put on her coat, carry her backpack and get ready to go out. Ku, I got a call from Talker earlier. He said that his girlfriend is very grateful for the encouragement I gave her boyfriend. She wants to treat us to dinner on the 3rd of the month to thank me in person. Lu Qing brought up the matter as they approached the elevator. Xianxia looked up and said, Okay, I'm quite curious about what his girlfriend is like. Kai Zhongming was a member of the martial arts special training team. She was no stranger to him. And her boyfriend often talked about this good friend of his and told her all the embarrassing things about him. Of course, Lu Qing would never mention that his girlfriend had been guided by little Ming. This was a secret that he would never mention until both of them had white hair and reminisced about the past. Out of the door they went to Yangtai Tourism Center and bought tickets. Then they took a special bus to Mount Moffin. Along the road they climbed step by step. Considering the existence of the girl's aunt Flo, Lu Qing slowed down his progress. They walked and stopped, took breaks, and breathed in the air full of negative oxygen ions, enjoying the free time in an unfamiliar environment. It wasn't until it was almost noon that they saw the glass bridge that spanned across the canyon. There were not many tourists here, but there were also quite a few. They waited in line for more than 10 minutes before it was their turn to board. As a boy, Lu Qing volunteered to take the lead and stepped on the bridge. He felt the emptiness under his feet. At first glance, he could see the swirling clouds, the rushing river, and the buildings at the foot of the mountain that were as small as ants because of the height. It made him want to jump down, but he was also afraid that he would fall and become a meat pie. I didn't know I was a little afraid of heights until I came here, Lu Qing complained to himself. He calmed down and condensed water into ice, calming down his fear and other feelings. Looking at the tourists around him who were trembling and didn't dare to move forward, and at the men and women who were holding onto the railings on both sides, he felt a little funny. He turned back and reached out his hand to xianxia, wanting to pull her up and be ready to protect his girlfriend. Will xianxia tremble and her legs go soft? Or will she scream and not dare to move? Lu Qing thought with implicit expectation. Then it will be a chance to show his manliness. Xianxia tidied her hair that was blown by the mountain wind. She didn't grab Lu Qing's right hand and jumped lightly onto the glass bridge like a deer. Then she looked down with interest. She walked back and forth a few steps and looked at Lu Qing with a little excitement. It's very interesting. Lu Qing was stunned and blurted out, Xianxia, aren't you afraid? Not at all. Xianxia shook her head proudly and then looked at the frightening scenery under her feet. She explained, maybe it's because I was very weak when I was young. I often got sick and always felt that I would die soon. At that time I was very fond of imagining things. After I got used to it, I felt that there was nothing to be afraid of about death. I often thought that if I died at the most brilliant time of my life, I would have no regrets. As she spoke, she put away her feelings and said with a smile, if you're not even afraid of death, why would you be afraid of heights? As soon as she finished speaking, she heard Lu Qing say in a weak voice, Coach Yen, you're right. So, can you give me a hand? Xianxia looked up and saw Lu Qing holding on to the railing beside him. His legs were weak and his body was trembling. No way. Qing is so afraid of heights. Xianxia resisted the urge to burst into laughter. When she was about to walk over and reach out her hand, she saw Lu Qing suddenly stand up straight and smile as usual. I'm kidding. Seeing Xianxia's fearless side, he felt that this girl was very cute and pitied her. He wanted to use this to dissolve the atmosphere just now. If it wasn't for traveling and being in a strange place, it would be a long time before he could see Xianxia like this. Of course he was a little afraid of heights. Xianxia finally couldn't help laughing. She covered her mouth and laughed for a while. In the end she felt relaxed and her eyes twinkled. Qing, in fact I especially liked the scared look on your face when you were waiting for me to save you. This will give this hero a sense of accomplishment. Lu Qing hurriedly crossed his arms and pretended to be a good man who was being teased. He shivered and said, then come and save me quickly. Xianxia laughed so hard that she crouched down with her hands on her belly, so as not to lose her image. After a cheerful flirting, they walked to the center of the glass bridge and asked a kind passerby to take some photos of each other cuddling in the blue sky and white clouds. Snap. This was the first time they took a photo together alone. In the afternoon, Lu Qing had no choice but to follow the strategy he had prepared and choose a scenic restaurant that wasn't so bad. After lunch, the two of them held hands and embarked on their journey again in a happy and relaxed mood. They went to the temple to burn incense and visited other people's settlements in the mountains. Although they didn't see anything interesting, it was the most interesting thing for the two of them to do when they were together. At 5 o'clock they returned to the tourist line on time. They took a bus back to Yangtai City and found the Yangtai fish, shrimp and crab restaurant. It's not the crab season now, but they are famous for their crabs. Let's order two. Xianxia looked at the menu. Lu Qing said in surprise, but you can't eat crabs. How do you know? Xianxia looked at her boyfriend with a cute face. When I was searching for brown sugar ginger tea, I saw that girls can't eat cold food during their period. For example, crabs. Lu Qing explained. Xianxia curved her eyebrows and turned her head slightly to the side. Here's what I ordered for you. After a while, the steamed crabs were served, together with the secret soy sauce. Lu Qing ate the crabs in pieces before. Facing the whole thing, he was a little at a loss and didn't know where to start. Let me do it. Xianxia smiled and took the crab. She skillfully peeled the shell and cleaned the insides. Even the big crab legs were sucked out by her. You are so skillful. Looking at her concentrating, Lu Qing felt sweet and couldn't help but sigh. People in Jiangnan like to eat crabs. I've been used to it since I was a child. Xianxia smiled and pushed the plate of crabs to Lu Qing. Lu Qing picked up a piece and dipped it in the soy sauce. He felt it was delicious and immediately praised, "Good, it's delicious." The food with love was better than usual. As soon as he finished speaking, Xianxia suddenly put on a serious face. Wrong answer, 0 points. Ah. Lu Qing was confused. Xianxia snorted and showed her dimples. You should say that you peeled it well. That's the right answer. What a different way of doing things. Lu Qing was stunned at first and then felt funny. So this is how to deal with similar situations. After dinner, the two of them strolled around the night market of Yangtai's handicrafts. They knew that this place was a ripoff, so they just looked around. Several times, Lu Qing wanted to spend money to buy some souvenirs, but Xianxia stopped him. It was already 9 o'clock when they returned to the hotel. Xianxia covered her mouth and yawned. Take a shower early and go to bed early. I'll do morning exercises with you tomorrow. We can't waste it. Lu Qing nodded and had a different expectation in his heart. He asked politely, Does your stomach still hurt? Much better. It didn't hurt much after the first day. Xianxia answered honestly. Lu Qing asked anxiously and expectantly, Do you still need to rub your stomach? Xianxia was stunned for a moment and then realized what he meant. She blushed and spat. No wonder Dirty Tong always said that most men are shameless and insatiable. Qing still wants to sleep here tonight. Lu Qing was about to say, I won't do anything and I can't do anything, when he saw her blushing and looking sideways at the carpet. Then you have to behave yourself. Bring it here. Chapter 196. Ah. Lu Qing was confused. He didn't expect that the words shameless and insatiable would be followed by behave yourself and give me the things. Wasn't this contrast a little too big? Wait, what did the last 2 words mean? He suddenly realized and was so happy that he didn't know what to do. Okay. Did Xianxia agree to sleep with him tonight? Although it was just sleeping together in a simple sense, just this alone was a huge improvement in their relationship. Just this alone was a very beautiful thing that he longed for. Lu Qing wasn't stupid enough to ask her why she suddenly changed her mind. He could guess that Xianxia would be so angry that she would go back on her words and kick him out of the room. I can do it, but I can't say it, he said to himself. Then he happily turned around and ran to his room. Clang. Hearing the sound of the door closing, Xianxia, who seemed to have exhausted all her strength from the previous words, raised her hand and touched her face, which was as red as blood. She murmured to herself, Why did I agree with him? Humph, he can't do anything anyway. Lu Qing ran all the way to his room and took out a change of clothes and martial arts suit for tomorrow morning's training from his backpack. At this moment an idea flashed through his mind. He paused and thought for a few seconds. Then he put everything back into his backpack, including the dirty clothes he changed into a specially prepared bag. As long as I behave well tonight, I can sleep with her tomorrow night. Why not take all my things and save me the trouble of running back and forth? Besides, I can save a few hundred yuan by checking out of this room in advance tomorrow. As for whether he could behave well tonight, Lu Qing was confident in himself. She was in her menstrual period. Her stomach hurt and her body was cold. How could he think of taking advantage of her? Was he still human? He looked around the room to make sure he didn't miss anything. Then he carried his luggage, took out the room card and ran to the light. He ran to the door of Xianxia's room. Knock, knock, knock. He controlled his excitement and tried not to sound hurried when he knocked on the door. After 3 knocks, Xianxia opened the door and let him in. She then pinned up her hair with a hairpin. It was as if she had become younger by a few years and had returned to the time when she was in junior high. Xianxia's eyes swept over Lu Qing's backpack. She opened her mouth slightly and followed his line of sight. Then she lowered her head and rushed into the bathroom without saying anything. Lu Qing snickered, vaguely feeling that he could grasp the girl's current thoughts. She must be saying that men were indeed insatiable. She had only agreed to do it tonight, but he had already brought everything over and planned for tomorrow night. Since Xianxia had locked the door of the bathroom, Lu Qing couldn't enjoy the sight of her removing her makeup. He had no choice but to put his backpack side by side with her suitcase. He sat on the edge of the bed and waited patiently with an unconcealable smile on his face. He even forgot to play with his phone and browse the forum. After a while, the sound of the shower came from the bathroom. The sound of the shower beat on Lu Qing's heart, making him a little thirsty. He unscrewed a bottle of mineral water and gulped it down. He deeply felt that such a scene was indeed a great test. He clearly knew that he shouldn't do anything, but he still couldn't help but let his imagination run wild. Well, didn't they say that one couldn't take a shower during menstruation? It was only now that he began to have doubts. He was at a loss about the inconsistency between the knowledge he received and reality. I should consult my life mentor, Coach Yen, later. After a while, the sound of the shower stopped. Lu Qing hurriedly sat up straight to show that he wasn't thinking nonsense. The door of the bathroom was opened. Xianxia walked out of the bathroom with her hair tied behind her back, revealing her slender neck. She was so beautiful that Lu Qing almost forgot about his own question. What are you looking at? The girl turned her head shyly, not daring to look into her boyfriend's eyes. I'm looking at a fairy. Lu Qing took a breath of the fragrance and suppressed the throbbing in his heart. He praised her in a joking tone. Xianxia's eyes were watery because she had just taken a shower. She glanced at Lu Qing and said, "Go take a shower." After that, she blushed and added, "Wait for a few more minutes. I've just finished my shower and Qing wants to go in now. Feels weird." Lu Qing's heart was touched by her glare and his soul almost left his body. He didn't notice her abnormality and asked a question to divert her attention. "Ku, aren't you on your period? How can you take a shower?" "Why can't I?" Xianxia looked at him strangely. "I usually take a shower after a day and a half or two with the heaviest volume. After that, I take a shower every other day. I just don't wash my hair. Otherwise, I always feel like I have a bloody smell." She was a little shy and didn't continue. "So that's why." Lu Qing felt that he had learned something new. He smiled and said, "Coach Yen is indeed my life mentor." His words amused Xianxia and made the girl tremble with excitement. "Then you have to learn well. There are still many things to learn." After chatting for a few minutes, Lu Qing got permission to take a change of clothes into the bathroom. He smelled the remaining warmth of the fragrance. He swallowed his saliva and suppressed his restlessness. He quickly brushed his teeth and took a shower. When he was about to finish, he hesitated. Should I go out in my boxers or put on my jeans again? Lu Qing was a little shy because he had never experienced such a scene before. Finally, he dressed neatly and opened the door. The light outside was dim. Xianxia was lying on her side facing the direction of the bathroom. Her whole body was buried in the quilt, leaving only her fair and delicate oval face and her long black hair outside. She was staring at Lu Qing silently with her big clear eyes, which were staring at the approaching Lu Qing. "You don't have pajamas?" Suddenly Xianxia blinked and asked as if she had discovered a great secret. Lu Qing smiled and said, "Boys are not so particular. I don't wear pajamas." When it was cold, he would wear cotton sweaters and cotton pants. When it was normal, he would be shirtless with a pair of boxers. Why would he need pajamas? It's so troublesome to change. It's not like I have to see anyone. You are indeed a rough man. Xianxia chuckled and didn't care much about the difference in living habits. She planned to pick 2 sets of pajamas for Qing to cultivate this habit. If he really didn't like it, then forget it. It's not a big deal. When 2 people get along with each other, many ideas and habits will be different. Just focus on the main ones and don't change the minor ones. It will only make the other feel restrained. This was Xianxia's own opinion. She summed it up according to the books she had read. She didn't know whether it was right or not. Lu Qing smiled and admitted that he was a rough man. When he was about to take off his jeans and get into bed, he saw Xianxia was still looking at him with her beautiful eyes full of curiosity. "Damn, I've never taken off my pants in front of a girl before, especially when I'm only wearing a pair of boxers inside." Even with Lu Qing's current thick skin, he felt a little uncomfortable. He coughed twice and signaled his girlfriend to leave. Xianxia blinked her eyes. She didn't know what he was coughing for and didn't want to avoid it at all. She was like a curious baby. "Forget it, it's not me who suffers losses." Lu Qing took a breath and unbuckled his belt and took off his pants, leaving only his boxers on. Xianxia's fair and tender face blushed, but there was a smile at the corner of her mouth. She pointed out in a delicate voice, "Qing, you have so much hair on your legs." She had noticed it when she applied ointment for Lu Qing. Today she saw it in the most direct way. "It's okay." Lu Qing didn't take off the dark t-shirt he had specially put on. He used it as pajamas in case the girl was embarrassed. "Some guys have much more hair on their legs than me. It's like wearing a pair of woolen pants." He was talking about old Qiu and Qiu Zhigao, but there was no need to mention such a physical thing. Woolen pants. Xianxia was stunned and then chuckled. "That's a good word, a good word." Lu Qing shamelessly jumped to the bed with bare legs. He pulled the quilt, got in and leaned on the girl. "Take off your hairy legs." Xianxia scolded him and asked him to lie down. She put her little feet on his legs and put her hands under his t-shirt on his stomach. The cold and smooth touch made Lu Qing restless. Plus, it was the girl who took the initiative. He swallowed hard and said, "Ku, what are you doing? Aren't you going to warm my hands and feet?" Xianxia opened her eyes and looked at Lu Qing innocently. "You promised to warm my hands and feet in the daytime when you knew a girl's hands and feet would be cold during her period." Lu Qing turned his head and saw the girl's clear and pure eyes. He took a breath and said, "I feel cold all of a sudden." "Hey, are you cold?" Xianxia's right hand slid on Lu Qing's stomach. "Your abs are very obvious." Somehow Lu Qing thought of the famous overbearing CEO's line. "Woman, you are playing with fire. Ku, I will have a reaction if you do this." He exhaled and reminded Xianxia, in case she accidentally touched the symbol and misunderstood him. Xianxia was shocked and withdrew her hands and feet. She looked at Lu Qing timidly and said, "You will have a reaction like this?" "Well, I have a lot of qi and blood." Lu Qing found an excuse casually. "You can put your hands on me. I can hold it." "Oh." Xianxia was more careful this time. She didn't dare to move her hands and feet. Lu Qing was breathing in her fragrance to ease the reaction of his body. Suddenly, he heard the girl ask, "Qing, did you help catch a thief this morning?" "Yeah, how did you know?" Lu Qing turned his head in surprise. Xianxia said with a smile, "The news is out." After that, she withdrew her right hand and took out the phone under the pillow. She unlocked the screen and handed it to Lu Qing. "When you were taking a shower just now, I browsed the portal website and found a funny news in the local news section. I clicked on it. Hey, isn't this Qing?" Lu Qing took the girl's phone with great interest. When he took a closer look, he saw his back and the title was, "Deliverman helped out and a white-collar girl caught a thief." "Deliverman?" Lu Qing blurted out. "When did I become a deliverman? Do I look like a deliverman? Have you ever seen a deliverman of professional ninth pin?" Chapter 197. Lu Qing skimmed through the news and found that it had basically reconstructed what had happened, except that he was described as a delivery boy. Since it was a local news, there were only a few comments and most of them were IP fans. Which delivery boy is so awesome? A part-time martial arts disciple? I don't think so. Their delivery boys all have uniforms and logos. This one must be an employee of the restaurant. Beside him, Xianxia buried half of her face in the pillow and punched the bed with her right fist. She said with a muffled laugh, "Delivery boy? Delivery boy? Delivery boy?" Lu Qing was both amused and helpless. Recalling that he was bringing breakfast for her, he exhaled and said, "That's right, the delivery boy that belongs exclusively to you." Xianxia's laughter suddenly became softer and stopped. She raised her head and looked at her boyfriend with misty eyes. Her lips opened and closed as she repeated Lu Qing's words silently. "My exclusive, delivery boy." Her eyes lit up little by little, like the dreamy starry sky at night. She looked at Lu Qing wanting to say something but feeling shy. All of a sudden, Lu Qing felt that the sound of the cars on the road and the voices of the pedestrians on the street were all taken away. The surroundings became unusually quiet. It was as if the only thing left in the whole world was the beautiful Xianxia in front of him and her bright eyes. Without the girl's reminder, he suddenly understood what it meant to have the right feeling and atmosphere. He turned to lie on his side, propped up his arms, and moved his head closer little by little. Xianxia's eyelashes fluttered a few times and she slowly closed her eyes. Lu Qing leaned forward and put his arms around her. He breathed in the girl's breath. At this moment, Xianxia opened her eyes and unconsciously said in a low voice, "You're pressing on my hair." This sentence was like a magic spell. Lu Qing immediately raised his arms and changed his posture. Then he froze on the spot. In an instant, all the atmosphere and feelings were completely dispelled. All the sounds outside returned, and the peaceful and dreamy world fell back into the mortal world again. Lu Qing and Xianxia looked at each other blankly at first, and then laughed at the same time. They couldn't help but laugh at how their romance was ruined in such a strange way. Of course, Lu Qing's laughter also had a touch of bitterness. The good feeling and atmosphere just now was gone after, "You're pressing on my hair." Was this the legendary laughingstock? The girl laughed for a long time. Her cheeks were rosy and cute. Lu Qing could only look at her helplessly, waiting for her to stop. After a while she finally calmed down. She pursed her lips and looked at Lu Qing. "I don't laugh that much, ha." As she spoke, she laughed again. She felt that the scene just now was especially funny. Lu Qing lay back down and pulled his girlfriend's right hand over, placing it on his stomach to warm it up. Xianxia moved closer to him and curled up next to him. Blinking her eyes, she asked, "Qing, what were you like before? When you were in middle school and elementary school?" She suddenly felt that she really wanted to know more about Lu Qing. Lu Cheng recalled for a moment and said with a smile, when I was in primary school I was very short. When I was in 6th grade I was still called square root 2. However, ever since I started middle school I grew taller and taller every year. In less than 3 years I was over 1.7 meters tall. In high school I didn't grow much, at most 1 or 2 centimeters. However, recently when I trained my body I seemed to have developed a second time and I grew taller again. He hadn't measured himself for a few months, so he could only guess based on his feelings. When you were in elementary school you must have been easy to bully. Xianxia seemed to be imagining Lu Cheng with an inexplicable smile on her face. Lu Cheng couldn't help but laugh. How is that possible? No one bullied me at that time. Xianxia's eyebrows and eyes were full of smiles. She gently bit her lower lip and said, Cheng, let me tell you a secret. What is it? Lu Cheng was excited to hear that it was a girl's secret. Xianxia pursed her lips, lowered her eyebrows and smiled faintly. When I was in 5th grade I beat a boy until he cried. Cried before? Lu Cheng asked word by word. He couldn't believe that his delicate and gentle girlfriend had done such a feat. Xianxia's dimples were bright. She pouted and said, he sat behind me and always bullied me. He poked my back with the cap of his pen and tied my hair. In short, he was very annoying. I told him very formally that if you do this again I will tell the teacher. In the end he scolded me for only knowing how to snitch and being a tattletale. I got angry and said, fine, I won't tell the teacher. If you do this again I will beat you up. He tried to teach you a lesson? Lu Cheng asked with a smile. Xianxia smiled and raised her head. Of course. Although I was still very sick at that time, I had been practicing martial arts with my uncle for a year or two. I knew some fancy moves. I punched him in the stomach and he cried. I was so scared that I thought I had seriously injured him. And then? Lu Cheng asked, playing along. He deeply suspected that the guy who was beaten to tears liked his girlfriend. In elementary and middle school, many boys liked his girlfriend by bullying her. It was very awkward. When he cried, someone went to the head teacher and I was scolded. But fortunately, I took the opportunity to ask for a change of seat. Since then he would avoid me whenever he saw me. Xianxia smiled embarrassedly. I was proud of this for a long time, Lu Cheng said thoughtfully. When he graduated from elementary school, did he also come to you to write a student record with you? How do you know? Xianxia widened her eyes and asked in surprise. Don't I know? Lu Cheng smiled. It's obvious. Xianxia rolled her eyes at him and continued. He did come to me and ask me to write our school records. At that time I thought it was a chivalrous way of turning hostility into friendship. Later we went to different junior high schools so we didn't see each other often. In the 3rd year of junior high school he came to me like a gangster and confessed his love to me, but I coldly rejected him. Haha, you deserve it. Lu Cheng expressed his satisfaction in a concise and comprehensive manner. Xianxia withdrew her right hand from Lu Cheng's stomach and held his arm. She said cheerfully, I've told you a secret. Now it's your turn. Cheng, you said you had a crush on me since high school? Thinking of this she couldn't help but smile. She paused and said, what about junior high school? What about elementary school? Did you like any girl? Or did any girl like you? No. Lu Cheng answered without hesitation. He sighed and said, at that time I was very ignorant and focused all my attention on studying. Moreover, in the early days I was thin and small so no one was interested in me. Later on the atmosphere in junior high school became bad, and the female students were proud of knowing gangsters. I didn't interact much with them. I want to see thin and small Cheng. Xianxia pretended to be pitiful. Do you have old photo albums at home? Yes, there are nude photos of me taking a shower when I was 2 or 3 years old. Speaking of this, Lu Cheng couldn't help laughing. Xianxia's eyes lit up. Show them to me when you come back to Xiaoshan during summer vacation. Okay. Do you have photos of your childhood? Lu Cheng also wanted to see Ku when she was a little girl. Quite a lot. My dad took a photo of me as a souvenir. There are dozens of albums. Xianxia smiled sweetly as she recalled the past. They talked about the past, exchanged secrets, and talked about their hearts. Sometimes they were excited, sometimes they were warm. Unknowingly, the night turned dark and it was 10:30. It's time to sleep. Xianxia looked at the phone screen and said with a little reluctance. Lu Cheng was also immersed in the wonderful feeling of talking about everything. He wanted to continue rambling, but he still nodded with great perseverance and restraint. Let's sleep. At this time Xianxia's eyes moved. She bit her lower lip and lowered her eyes with both happiness and shyness. Cheng, I really like our interaction just now. I really like it. She said the important words twice. She felt that this was the way she wanted to get along. It didn't have to be intimate. It was also good to hug and talk. I like it too. Lu Qing looked back at her with a smile. After that, he was afraid that Xianxia would reject intimacy, so he worriedly added another sentence to express his thoughts. But I think it's not complete if we only have this. Xianxia understood what he meant. She blushed and said in a slightly coquettish tone, Qing, turn around. Turn around, please. Lu Qing didn't understand and turned around. Then he heard her shyly and timidly say, I just said not to think about that every time. I didn't say we can't. Her voice gradually lowered until it couldn't be heard. Lu Qing was delighted and turned around abruptly. He found that Xianxia was also facing away from him. Her head was buried in the pillow. Her ears were red and crystal cute. At this time, Lu Qing's heart was only warm and touched, without any color of lust. He turned off the bedside lamp and approached the girl. His right hand passed between the warm bed and her soft waist, completing the hug with his left hand. Then he gently pulled back and let Xianxia's back stick to his chest. Xianxia was stunned at first. Then, because she didn't notice any further movement from Lu Qing, she softened her body and took the initiative to lean back. She was relieved. The fragrance assailed his nostrils. Lu Qing, who didn't have any romantic thoughts before, suddenly had a strong reaction. Xianxia felt the change and her body became stiff again. She was a little timid. Lu Qing hurriedly said in a low voice, Leave it alone. It was really painful and happy. Xianxia didn't struggle. She heard Lu Qing behind her using the breathing method to regulate her throbbing heart. Her face unconsciously outlined a faint bashful smile. She thought to herself, Qing, there's something I'm embarrassed to say just now. Sometimes I also like the intimacy between us. I like the way you are full of desire for me. She took a breath and leaned her back a little closer to Lu Qing's chest. Feeling the warm contact, she smiled like a flower and said, Qing, good night. Chapter 198. Dragging her suitcase, Xianxia opened the door of her small dormitory and saw that Li Liantong was already back, typing furiously on the keyboard. Are Ruru and Cabbage not back yet? She asked casually. Li Liantong stopped typing and looked over. They are stuck in the old campus. Students returning to school after the holidays were piled up on this day, and the school buses were not enough. That's true. Xianxia chuckled. Ruru might as well skip another day of class. The May Day holiday was on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Zhong Yanru skipped her classes on Monday and Tuesday to connect with the previous weekend and gave herself a super luxurious 7-day holiday. Li Liantong supported her cheek with one hand and watched Xianxia open her suitcase and busy packing. She said thoughtfully, You and Qing didn't take the school bus? After getting familiar with each other, she started to call Lu Qing by his nickname. Yeah, he booked a ride online. Xianxia's lips curled into a faint smile. If he really had to wait for the school bus, he would have to wait for 1 or 2 hours. Sigh, this is a bit of a waste of money. It only costs 4 yuan to take the school bus, but 60 or 70 yuan to book a ride online. Also, Qing spent a lot on this trip, especially the room, which cost at least 3,000. Plus other miscellaneous expenses, it would be close to 5,000. I wonder how much money he has left. She came from a good family and didn't have to worry about money, so she wasn't sensitive about this since she was young. But now she always liked to count these things unconsciously. She felt sorry for Lu Qing. If it weren't for this, she wouldn't have been so shy and reminded her boyfriend to cancel the extra rooms. Li Liantong saw Xianxia's dazed eyes and couldn't help but click her tongue. You look pretty good. Xianxia came back to herself and rolled her eyes at her roommate. Dirty Tong, although there's nothing wrong with what you said, I feel weird hearing it from your mouth. It had a dirty smell. Li Liantong chuckled and said, I am a pervert, but I still know my manners. I won't pry into other people's privacy, and I won't ask about the intimacy between a young couple. I will only sigh and say that you look good. Bah. What are you thinking about? I'm on my period. Xianxia suddenly realized and glared at Dirty Tong with shame and annoyance. Li Liantong spread her hands and said with a smile, Naive. Menstruation can block one thing, but it can't block other things. As long as a man is lustful, what kind of tricks can't he play? For example. Even if Li Liantong didn't say it out loud, Xianxia was also stunned. She felt that she and Qing were still pure and good kids who couldn't think of so many dirty things. He had read a lot of romance novels, but he had always picked those that were very hazy and beautiful. After being stunned for a moment, she rubbed her forehead and said, Dirty Tong, you've reached a new level of filth. Was this still a little girl who had never been in a relationship before? Li Liantong was not ashamed of this at all, but her expression became serious. Ku, to be honest, I have to remind you of something. What? Xianxia asked blankly. If he doesn't have any reaction when you two are together, you have to be careful. Li Liantong said seriously. Xianxia blushed and pouted playfully. What have you been watching recently? It's so strange. Aren't they just some scumbags who hide their sexual orientation and cheat in marriage? Li Liantong sighed and winked deliberately. Look at your red face, I guess you don't need to worry about this. Yes. Xianxia answered quietly. Qing not only had a reaction, but it was so strong that they almost quarreled because of it. She was too embarrassed to continue this topic, so she sorted out the clothes that needed to be washed and began to choose what to wear for the evening. Do you two have to be so intimate? You just came back and now you want to go out for a date? Li Liantong was well versed in filth, but she didn't know enough about love. Xianxia said with a smile. His best roommate is treating us to dinner. There are other girls? Li Liantong walked to Xianxia, as if she wanted to give her advice on what to wear. Yes. Xianxia smiled slightly. No wonder. Li Liantong chuckled and looked up and down at her beautiful roommate. She suddenly sighed. Ku, your collarbone is so beautiful. I'm so envious. I like your delicate collarbone. Your preferences are a bit strange. Xianxia heard Dirty Tong mention this several times, but she couldn't help but feel strange every time. Li Liantong smiled. What's so strange about it? What's wrong with collarbone? In this world there are people who are obsessed with hands, feet, legs, long hair, short hair, flat chest. It's normal that everyone is cute in some way. Then what kind of obsession am I? Xianxia suddenly thought of this question when she heard Dirty Tong's words. She thought about it carefully and felt that she didn't have any preferences. If she had to say, she would probably be obsessed with idiots. Silly Qing? She couldn't help but smile as she thought of something else. What kind of obsession does Qing have? Little fairy? After washing and drying the clothes, Lu Qing tidied himself up and made a final confirmation with little Ming. According to the time, he left a little earlier and waited outside the third building. Not long after, he saw his girlfriend coming out with a bag. Xianxia was wearing a white t-shirt and black knee-length culottes. Her legs were white and straight, and she wore light-colored sneakers. She looked simple yet not simple, beautiful yet youthful. She had also applied something on her face, which made her look really radiant and beautiful. You don't have to be so formal, right? Lu Qing was half stunned and half confused. Ku had never dressed up so seriously on a date with him except for the first time. Xianxia's dimples appeared. She lowered her eyebrows and smiled. Sometimes for a girl, meeting another girl is more serious than meeting her boyfriend. Lu Qing was confused. Forget it. You guys won't understand. Xianxia held his arm with one hand and said with a smile, let's go. At this time they didn't need to wait in line to get to the old campus, so they didn't book a taxi online. They arrived at Songqing in the usual way and went to Taoran restaurant near the school. The environment here was elegant. There were all kinds of porcelain and books, which separated the tables from each other. Not only did it ensure privacy, but it also showed style. Coupled with the slightly dim lighting, it was really quite a suitable place for dating. As expected of the Casanova, he really knows how to pick a place. Lu Qing sighed with emotion and then told the waitress the table number. Under the guidance of the waitress, he and Xianxia found Kai Zongming and his girlfriend hand in hand. Kai Zongming stood up and introduced them to each other with a smile. Qing, this is my girlfriend Fang Yuan. Xuanhuan, this is Qing and this is his girlfriend Xianxia. Lu Qing and Xianxia nodded to the girl who stood up after Kai Zongming. Nice to meet you. Fang Yuan was a girl of medium height with an average appearance. Her eyes were a little out of shape. She was wearing a t-shirt and an ankle-length skirt, with a little makeup on her face. She looked at Lu Qing and smiled. Nice to meet you, Qing. I often hear him talk about you. Although he always says you have abnormal talent and amazing strength, I can feel that he admires your perseverance and persistence the most. He also quit a lot of bad habits with you. At first, Lu Qing was listening with a smile. However, as he listened, he felt something was wrong. Student Fang Yuan's aura was more serious, and the way she spoke was more formal. In an instant he felt a kind of pressure. The pressure of facing the teaching director. He took a deep breath and joked, I can't believe what you're saying, can I? It's good enough that talker didn't insult me. How could he praise me and admire me? It's not scientific. Kai Zongming also smiled and interrupted, Xuanhuan, I told you Qing won't believe me. You don't understand the way men get along. If you say I admire him, he will be scared. They teamed up to make the two girls laugh and the atmosphere returned to normal. After they sat down and exchanged a few words, Kai Zhongming winked at Lu Qing. Lu Qing took the hint and looked around. Where's the washroom? I'll take you there. Ladies, please look at the menu first. Kai Zhongming stood up with a smile and turned to a corner with Lu Qing. As soon as they left, the two girls who didn't know each other fell into silence. But Xianxia, with her good upbringing, took the initiative to start a conversation. She smiled and asked, I heard you're from the Capital College's mathematics department? Yes. Fang Yuan answered uncomfortably. Did Professor Smith give a lecture at your school last month? Xianxia asked with interest. Professor Smith was a top scholar who had switched from mathematics to finance. You know about it too? Fang Yuan's eyes lit up. Yes, I'm very interested in this. Can you tell me more about the situation? Xianxia asked with interest. Fang Yuan seemed to have found a soulmate and soon opened her mouth. In the bathroom, Lu Qing looked at Kai Zhongming with amusement. It's not good to leave them alone, is it? That's not considerate. I'm just afraid you'll say something wrong. My xuanhuan is more old-fashioned. Don't make fun of me. Kai Zhongming washed his hands. Old-fashioned? Lu Qing asked in surprise. What's wrong? I like her old-fashioned. Kai Zhongming said with annoyance. I didn't expect you to like this type. Lu Qing sighed. You don't know what I thought of when I was facing her. Forget it, I won't say it. It's okay to insult a friend, but it's not okay to insult his girlfriend. Kai Zhongming sighed and said, Is it like facing the dean? Damn, you know. Lu Qing looked at Casanova in surprise. We've been desk mates for many years. At first, I didn't think I'd like her at all. How could I like a serious, old-fashioned girl who likes to manage people? But then I fell for her unknowingly. Kai Zhongming recalled the past and didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Damn it, I hate my parents the most. I hate serious, old-fashioned people the most. But when I face her, it's like Sun Wukong in front of Buddha. I like her to manage me. I like her serious look. Lu Qing was stunned. After a long time he said, I didn't expect you to be like this, little Ming. You like this type. Does this count as Stockholm Syndrome? You're really like a pot and a lid. While talking, they returned to their seats and were surprised to see Xianxia and Fang Yuan chatting happily. Kai Zhongming was stunned and said, I kind of regret letting you bring your girlfriend. Girls can pass information to each other when they're familiar with each other. Lu Qing sucked in a breath of cold air. I regret it too. Xu Rui, who was dating her boyfriend, suddenly received a call from the director. You work overtime today and finish the interview with Lu Qing. Broadcast it the day after tomorrow to coincide with the lottery ceremony. The director said concisely. Xu Rui felt the urge to smash the phone. Chapter 199. Rui, what's wrong? Qing Mingqian, sitting opposite her, noticed his girlfriend's hidden anger. Xu Rui complained, It's all because of our director. I've already suggested to the director to broadcast the interview during the draw ceremony of the knockout round. They discussed it over and over again but couldn't make up their minds. They were so wishy-washy. If they had told me earlier, I would have done it before the holidays. I wouldn't have had to work overtime. Qing Mingqian held her hand as if he was a student. He smiled and said, Is it because of the interview? You know about it? Xu Rui's eyes lit up. Her attention was diverted. Qing Mingqian said proudly, How can a boyfriend not know what his girlfriend is busy with and what she has been busy with? I'll remember the key points you mention. Xu Rui chuckled softly. Is that interview? Sai, don't you think that all of you, as leaders, change your mind one moment after another? Anyway, I'm not. Qing Mingqian said seriously, Rui, you don't have to work so hard. It's not like I can't support you. It's a job. If you feel it's interesting, you can do it. If it's tiring and troublesome, it will affect your normal life and health. It's better to be a full-time housewife. If Director Zhao calls again, you can just tell him to work overtime. Xu Rui looked at her boyfriend and sighed, I want to do that too. But how can I be a full-time housewife when I haven't gotten married and haven't even met his parents? Besides, I don't like to be someone else's canary. Speaking of this topic, Qing Mingqian's fair and gentle face showed some embarrassment. Rui, don't worry. When the company is on the right track, my mom can't find any excuses. I'll take you back to see her. 1 year, I promise, within 1 year. His mother was too strong. She was the famous Iron Lady of the business world in Songqing. She had made a whole set of arrangements for him, including his future marriage plan. If he didn't have enough confidence, he wouldn't dare to take his girlfriend to see her. Xu Rui smiled, I believe you. She had heard similar words many times, and she had also said similar words many times. After dinner, Xu Rui asked her boyfriend to drive her to the TV station to work overtime. Today she boldly tried on a bohemian-style long dress with a pair of high-heeled sandals that she rarely wore. She felt a little bit of pain on her feet, and as soon as she sat in the front passenger seat, she couldn't help but touch the wound. Qing Mingqian glanced at him and didn't say anything. He drove the car out of the underground. After driving along the street for a while, he suddenly stopped the car by the roadside. "What's wrong?" Xu Rui looked at her boyfriend blankly. Qing Mingqian smiled. "Give me 5 minutes." He pulled the handbrake, opened the door and rushed through the crosswalk. Because of the obstacles, Xu Rui couldn't see where he ran to. She was confused for a moment. A few minutes later, Qing Mingqian rushed back with a bag. He took out a box from it and took out a pair of white sneakers. He smiled and said, "Wear this first. I don't think I remembered your size wrong." Xu Rui glanced at the shoes with sparkling eyes and felt a surge of warmth in her heart. "I thought you didn't notice it." After putting on the shoes, she felt that the grievances of working overtime had been alleviated. She regained the mood to chat with her boyfriend and arrived at the building where Songqing TV station was located. "When you're done, give me a call. I'll pick you up." Qing Mingqian made a phone call. As for now, he had to go back and report. Xu Rui smiled and waved. She walked into the building with her handbag. While waiting for the elevator, she couldn't help but sigh. Her boyfriend was good at everything. He was much better than the immature first love and the male chauvinist second love. Otherwise, she wouldn't have fallen in love with him among so many pursuers. She also wouldn't have given up the offer from Huahai Satellite TV and left her hometown to come to Songqing. Sigh, his biggest problem is that he's a bit of a mommy's boy. Forget it, there's no perfect man in the world. Xu Rui comforted herself. She boarded the elevator and came to the second editing room. She saw Xuanhuan, who was also working overtime because of the interview. "Xuanhuan, what are you thinking about?" Xu Rui noticed that Xuanhuan was a little absent-minded. Xuanhuan was startled. She covered her chest and said, "Little Rui, don't you make any sound when you walk? You're too focused on things." Xu Rui chuckled. Xuanhuan looked at Xu Rui and hesitated. "Little Rui, let me ask you a question. I have a friend who likes a man. She wants to take the initiative. What should I do?" Xu Rui burst into laughter. "Xuanhuan, I'll pretend that this friend is you." Xuanhuan was immediately embarrassed. She realized that she had been too obvious just now. Xu Rui stopped smiling and said seriously, "I don't dare to say that all men are the same, but there are a lot of them who can't stand flirting. You get his contact information and find a topic to talk about every day. Be more lively, cheerful and cute. Don't talk for too long and become a burden to him. 3 months. Believe me, 3 months at most. You'll definitely be able to flirt with him. As for whether you flirt with him and become his girlfriend or just have sex, it depends on his character." "That's it?" Xuanhuan was stunned. Xu Rui spread out her hands. "You have to learn how to put on makeup and make yourself look okay. And I'm only talking about some men, not all." "Have you tried?" Xuanhuan blurted out. "No." Xu Rui looked innocent. "I've never taken the initiative to flirt with anyone. This is what my roommate told me." She successfully flirted with several men. "And the result?" Xuanhuan asked curiously. Xu Rui's mouth twitched. "I'm embarrassed to mention her. She only enjoys the process of flirting. Once she's done flirting and the other party becomes passionate and proactive, she'll lose interest and blacklist them. The world is so big. There are all kinds of strange things." Xuanhuan could only sigh to herself. Xu Rui put down her purse and picked up the cup. She smiled and said, "Contact me on WeChat if you have any questions. Let's organize the interview first. Don't be late." At 9 o'clock on Sunday night, Zhong Yinru came out of the small dormitory next door and saw Li Liantong sitting on the simple sofa with a cup in her hand. "Dirty Tong, what are you watching?" she asked curiously. Li Liantong changed the channel and laughed. "Isn't there a draw for the knockout round tonight?" "What knockout round?" Zhong Yinru was confused. "The knockout round of the martial arts club. Have you forgotten?" Li Liantong explained. Zhong Yinru replied, "Oh, I wouldn't have remembered if you didn't mention it." "Me too. Luckily, Ka mentioned it at noon." Li Liantong complained. "I really don't know how they arrange the schedule. The group stage ended in the first week of April, but now they're just starting the draw. It's been almost a month. If you don't pay attention, who will remember it?" Zhong Yinru sat beside her and answered casually, "The school will definitely publicize it." Most of the nearly 10,000 spectators who came to the martial arts club to cheer were just there for the fun. Currently, there were very few people who insisted on paying attention to the martial arts club. Once the craze was over, they would gradually forget about it. After all, they still had to study, fall in love, play games, read novels, shop online and pay attention to all kinds of headlines. Everyone was very busy. You're right. Li Liantong held the cup and took a sip. Her eyes were fixed on the screen. Stop talking. It's starting. Similar scenes happened only a few times in the campus of Songqing University. Yan Shaoling and the other netizens of Lu Cheng's fan forum were already in full swing discussing it, praying that they wouldn't be drawn against those particularly strong teams. Lu Cheng, Xianxia and other special training members of the martial arts club gathered in the martial arts club's martial arts stadium, which had already closed. They occupied Gizershir's office and watched the live broadcast on their laptops. When the first group was drawn, they instinctively felt a little nervous and waited for the second group anxiously. The second group, Songqing University Martial Arts Club. The female guest took out the first small ball. In the office, everyone held their breaths. What happened next would determine whether or not they would be able to get more of the broadcasting rights. The female guest took out another round ball and looked at it carefully. Then she raised her voice and said, Donglin Squad. Songqing University Martial Arts Club versus Donglin Squad. Phew. The sound of exhalation was heard. Lu Cheng and the others were relieved. This wasn't the worst draw. Songqing's Yueyao squad had a professional 7th pin and a professional 8th pin Dan stage Mighty 1. They were almost guaranteed to advance to the second stage of the preliminaries. Donglin squad, on the other hand, came from Donglin City, the other end of the province's economy. It was a squad formed by a local martial arts sect. They had a long history that could be traced back to at least 1,000 years. There was a high-ranked Dan stage Mighty 1 in the sect, who was the leader of the martial arts circle in Donglin City. Donglin squad has an professional 8th pin Dan stage Mighty 1 and 3 professional 9th pin fighters. All of them are from the younger generation of Wenxing school. They are a little stronger than Fearless squad. Yan Zhika recalled the information she had read. There were only a few teams in the top 8. She had already browsed through the general information. It's not hopeless. Sun Jian looked at Lu Cheng and Lin Ke with a smile. The knockout was in the form of home and away matches. The result of the draw was the first to determine the winner. If each team won one match, the score would be calculated, which was the total number of wins. If it was the same, the substitutes would compete with each other after the second match to determine the overall strength of the team. Another Dan stage Mighty 1. Lu Cheng was a little excited but also a little nervous. Wenxing School was also a force with a long history. Their Dan stage Mighty 1 must be above average. Yan Zhika was about to say something when she suddenly saw a video clip playing between the two teams, introducing the two teams. They didn't talk anymore and carefully read the official information. While watching, Yan Zhika suddenly turned her head and looked at her boyfriend with surprise and joy. Cheng, is this the interview you accepted before? Why did it only start now? Chapter 200. In the dormitory building, Li Liantong and Zhong Yanru were watching Lu Cheng's exclusive interview with great interest. This was the first time they had seen someone they knew on the television screen. The random interview with the audience and the brief post-match comments did not count. He's a little different from the Cheng that Ke mentioned. Li Liantong laughed as she watched. Whenever Ke mentioned her boyfriend, the most common word she would say was, silly. Zhong Yanru nodded and said, it's a little different from the last time you treated us. That time, the focus of the conversation was on the couple's relationship. Lu Cheng showed his humorous, considerate and generous side. In the interview that was being broadcasted, the main topic was martial arts, which was Lu Cheng's field of expertise. He spoke confidently, calmly and gently. Although he was still a little shy and inexperienced, the brilliance of him couldn't be concealed. This made the semi-acquaintances who had only seen him a few times and only watched him fight in the challenge tournament, feel the contrast and impact. Li Liantong opened her mouth. She wanted to make a dirty joke but in the end it turned into a sigh, "'Cause taste is really good. Yeah." Zhong Yanru recalled her understanding of Lu Cheng and her impression of him when she met him a few times. She couldn't help but agree. Yan Shaoling sat by the window in the second row of the classroom. The books on the table had been piled up into a fortress. She rested her chin on one hand and pretended to comb her hair with the other. She pressed her earplugs and looked at the phone on the edge of the drawer with a well-practiced attitude. She was watching the interview with a silly smile. This was a pleasant surprise. She originally just wanted to check the results of the draw in the forum and didn't have any expectations for other things. Who knew that Songqing TV station would make a big news and broadcast the long-awaited interview? Hey, this is the first time I've seen Lu Cheng talk so much. Yan Shaoling smiled. The whole interview was not much different from what she had expected. It was obvious that Lu Qing was not the kind of martial artist with a particularly distinctive character. His personal style was vague and he seemed to be an ordinary, precocious boy. Although he was confident, calm, and dazzling, if one really wanted to describe his personality traits, he lacked any explosive points. To put it simply, Yan Xiaoling felt that Lu Qing was the kind of boy next door, which matched her initial impression of him as warm and considerate. He didn't disappoint her. Thinking of this, she sent a message to Brahmin, deliberately provoking her. Lu Qing doesn't seem to have that kind of mysterious temperament. For this reason, she even added a crying emoji. Brahmin quickly replied, "I'm no longer the child I used to be. I like my idol." Immediately after, she added, "That's right. Call me father." "How rude of you." "What do you mean I'm no longer the child I used to be? It had only been slightly more than 3 months. Yan Xiaoling complained. Just as she was about to press the keyboard on the screen, her heart suddenly tightened. She found that the light on her phone seemed to be covered with a layer of shadow. She quietly stuffed her phone back into the drawer and covered her ears with both hands again. Then, from the corner of her eyes, she saw a black shadow outside the window. The mysterious homeroom teacher. Under the night sky, the remaining lights of the teaching area were reflected on the surface of the lake, rippling with the slightly cool night breeze. This interview was taken before Valentine's Day, right? Xianxia swung her hand that was holding Lu Cheng's hand like a swing. Yes. Lu Cheng looked at the girl with a smile, often showing her liveliness recently. Of course, in front of others she was no different from before. Xianxia stopped her childish behavior and sighed inexplicably. It's only been 2 months, but you've changed so much in the interview. It always makes me feel that it's been a long time since school started. Just like how she sometimes felt that they had been dating for a long time, so long that she had gotten used to each other's breath and temperature. She didn't have the nerve to say this, so she said with a smile, "The experience of the preliminaries has helped you a lot. More mature, more confident, more responsible." "I think so." Lu Qing smiled and turned to look at the girl's clear and bright eyes. "It's mainly because I have a girlfriend." This made him mature not only in the arena. Xianxia's pretty face was blushing. She turned her head and looked to the side, gnashing her teeth. "See, this is the change. You're getting more and more thick-skinned." There was no trace of anger in her coquettish tone. Lu Qing snickered and pulled the girl over. He let go of her hand and wrapped his arms around her slender waist. This was the way he liked to walk recently. Donglin City, Wenxing Mountain. Behind the vacation villa area where the land was worth thousands of dollars, old buildings with a sense of time erosion were scattered in the picturesque scenery, complementing the peaceful and quiet mountain night. In one of the buildings, the lights were bright, illuminating rows of bookshelves, a table covered with rice paper, and a young man in a black Han suit with red stripes. He was in his early 20s. He was holding a brush in his hand, concentrating on writing words that were sharp and restrained. "Senior brother Zhou, don't you care about the result of the draw?" On the other side of the study, 2 female guests were sitting. One of them had a ponytail, thick but not messy eyebrows, which made her look quite pretty. Zhou Jingxuan's breath was unchanged and his writing was not messy. He said leisurely, "What's the use of caring? Do you think I can force those old men to start again if I get moonshine?" There was only one rule in the draw of the preliminaries, which was to avoid the first and second place of the group. Anything could happen, so it was particularly exciting. At this point he laughed. "Junior Sister Yi, you didn't pay attention to the Yenling Division's lot drawing ceremony and brought Sister Jianglan here to wander around blindly." The speaker was Yi Yaoting from the Iya Martial Arts Club in Yenling. Her family was closely related to the Wenxing School. They both belonged to the branch of the Black Tortoise School, one of the 12 major forces. Their core martial arts originated from the Heavenly Water Scripture, the unique skill of the Water Sect, and the Black Tortoise Sword. Therefore, when they interacted with each other, they called each other senior brothers and junior sisters. "Who said I don't care? Isn't there still a week to go?" Yi Yaoting looked at Zhou Jingquan with disdain. Regarding this matter, she had said it 3 times, but senior brother Zhou obviously didn't take it to heart. The Yenling division was relatively large, and there were more teams than Songqing. There were 2 more rounds in the group stage, so the draw ceremony was a week later. Yi Yaoting had nothing to do, so she thought that the Wenxing School seemed to have formed a team to participate in the preliminaries and had successfully passed. She simply invited Jianglan for a short trip and came here to exchange ideas. The demure and gentle Jianglan followed with a laugh. "If we really get moonshine, I'm looking forward to seeing the change in your expression." She was a little older than Zhou Jingquan, so after they got familiar with each other, she called herself his sister. Moonshine Squad was a strong team capable of competing for a place in the second stage of the preliminaries, and its reputation was not small in this circle. What change can there be? Just admit it. Zhou Jingxuan's writing style did not change at all, and the skeleton of the words was thick and heavy. Anyway, we can only wait for one more year. This time, if they still can't pass the second stage, the team will probably be disbanded. Wang Xing and Li Minglong already have a lot of invitations in their hands, from clubs in the North and South Division, and from teams in other big cities who want to form a team of 3 or 4 dance stage to compete in the North and South Division. Wasn't their original slogan Brothers United, take root in Songqing? Yi Yaoting blurted out, with some ridicule and amusement, but also some sadness and pity. Will dreams yield to reality after all? Zhou Jingquan put down the weasel hairbrush in his hand and wiped his palms with a white towel. He sighed and said, "There's nothing we can do about it. Songqing is big, but we have limited resources. Yongshi and the other 2 are enough." While he was talking, there was a sound of footsteps outside the door. Hou Yu jumped in and said excitedly, "Senior brother Zhou, the results are out." "It looks good." Zhou Jingquan looked at his junior brother with a smile. He secretly exhaled when Yi Yaoting and Jianglan were not paying attention. The draw can be ruined, but not the demeanor. Hou Yu answered with a smile, "Not bad, not bad. Songqing University Martial Arts Club." Songqing University Martial Arts Club? Yi Yaoting was moved and asked subconsciously, Songqing University Martial Arts Club? Some failures could be forgotten in a second, but some failures could be remembered clearly. Beside her, Jianglan was also interested and looked like she was waiting for the answer. "Yes, senior sister Yi, you should know their leading member. He participated in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament." Hou Yu vaguely remembered the general information. Yi Yaoting took a breath and said, "Lu Qing? He became the leading member of Songqing University Martial Arts Club? He should have gotten the certificate of professional 9th pin, right? I told you would know him, senior sister Yi." Hou Yu was like a monkey with ADHD who couldn't calm down. Lu Qing, as one of the leading members, led Songqing University Martial Arts Club into the knockout stage? Yi Yaoting couldn't hide her curiosity and asked, "Junior brother Hou, how is Lu Qing's strength now?" She knew that although Hou Yu seemed to be uncertain, he was actually quite proud. A professional 9th pin less than 18 years old was indeed qualified to be proud. The smile on Hou Yu's face disappeared as he said seriously, which was rare for him. "Very, very powerful." After that he couldn't help but add, "Very powerful." This was the answer of the proud junior brother Hou Yu? Yi Yaoting forgot to breathe for a moment. Back in the dormitory, Lu Qing browsed the information of Donglin's squad. Their members were all from the Wenxing school and practiced the fly-fall punch, which originated from the unique skill of the water sect. The oldest was Zhui Yanjun, a 24-year-old professional 9th pin fighter. The youngest was Hou Yu, an 18-year-old professional 9th pin fighter. The leading general was Zhou Jingquan, a 21-year-old professional 8th pin fighter, and Li Xingnan, a 23-year-old professional 9th pin fighter. A very strong and young team. Lu Qing forgot that he was only 19 years old and that none of the leading members and substitutes of the martial arts club were over 22 years old. The moonlight was quiet in the mountains and the wind was blowing at night. Jianglan closed her laptop and exhaled slowly. She couldn't hold back her emotions, so she stood up, opened the door and walked to the corridor. The core force of the ice sect, the limitless tremor punch. Lu Qing's rapid progress made her feel inexplicable fear. She had only learned tremor punch a year ago when she was in dance stage and she was still figuring out force. How long had it been? She subconsciously looked at Yi Yaoting's room and was surprised to see her best friend sitting quietly in the dark, staring out of the window. Chapter 201. Noticing Jianglan's stare, Yi Yaoting shuddered. Her eyes regained their luster and she said blankly, "Sister Lan, you can't sleep either?" Jianglan stared at her and chuckled, "Are you upset?" Yi Yaoting was silent for more than 10 seconds and sighed faintly, "A little. Previously I thought that after going through the trials, I had matured a lot in all aspects, from my temperament to my strength. In the end, after watching his recent competition videos, I realized what it means to feel too good about oneself." As for the previous battle, she felt more surprised. The kid who was obviously easy to bully had suddenly awakened his innate talent and awakened his special ability, causing a short burst of power that caught her off guard. If they were to fight again, the result would not be like this. However, in less than 4 months, that young and inexperienced fellow had completely transformed into a formidable opponent. Regardless of whether it was one of the core forces of the ice sect or the endless tremor punch, they were all things that were currently out of his reach. At this time, if she were to encounter him, her chances of winning would be very, very low. Jianglan shook her head slightly and laughed at herself. I'm also a little upset. Tremor punch is still okay. With the inheritance and guidance, it's not too exaggerated to master it in half a year. But the core force of the ice sect is enough to make many professional 8th pin dance stage fighters envious. Isn't it always difficult to grasp the essence and charm of a visualization diagram? Just by mastering meditation, there shouldn't be any obvious advantage. Her tremor punch was self-created. She gradually realized the mystery of it through constant practice with similar martial arts. Then she spent the points of the Martial Artist Association to ask for guidance on the key points of visualization. After a year, she finally created her own tremor punch. With the realm of dance stage where the strength of the whole body was integrated into one, the subtle control of the muscles was not difficult for her. As for force, it was a low-level type that did not require comprehension of a visualization diagram. It was not very useful even if it was mastered, just like the burning force of Hongluo Martial Arts School. In order to grasp the essence and charm of a visualization diagram, one had to be close to mastering meditation. In addition, there were 81 difficulties. Hearing Zhang Lan's words, Yi Yaoting's mood improved a lot. I thought I was the only one who was upset. It turns out that Sister Lan was also shocked. Sigh, maybe he will even surpass me one day. Don't worry too much about this. Generally speaking, the faster you advance, the more time you need to settle down before you reach the threshold of dance stage, unless you have the wisdom of previous lives. Jiang Lan comforted her, but you have already touched the threshold of dance stage, and are only one step away from mastering the meaning of withdraw? Yi Yaoting pulled the hair hanging by her mouth childishly. Sister Lan, you don't have to comfort me. You know that I'm a little heartless and I'll recover in the blink of an eye. Besides, it's not a bad thing to be provoked at this time. In the past, I was always in the limelight among the warriors of the same age. Not only was I born with divine strength, but my cultivation level was also very fast. I was always able to suppress the majority of people. That's why I was a little conceited and a little arrogant. But now, with a comparison, it hurts me, it sets me off. I realized that I was originally nothing. If I want to go further, then I have to calm down and calm down. Jiang Lan nodded thoughtfully. This may be a good thing for you. At 10:30 on Saturday morning in the train to Donglin City. Sitting next to Yanjika, Lu Cheng and Yanjika were chatting about the latest hot news, dutifully playing the role of an onlooker, flirting with each other from time to time. Just then his cell phone made a ding sound. He picked it up and saw a delightful message, 20,000. 00 yuan has been transferred to your savings card ending with XXXX. Current balance is 25,813. 74. The broadcasting bonus is in my account. Lu Qing put his phone in front of Yanjika, without any intention of hiding the specific amount of his private savings. After the lot drawing ceremony, the organizing committee had distributed the broadcasting bonus to each participating team. But Songqing University maintained its usual style of procrastination in administrative affairs. It wasn't until Friday afternoon that the accounting was completed and the finance department went to the bank. Martial arts bonuses like this were generally calculated after tax, and the organizing committee would withhold income tax. I haven't arrived yet. Yanjika frowned her long black eyebrows and said, half surprised and half puzzled. Maybe the bank is different and it's the weekend so it can't be so timely. Lu Qing guessed the reason. Maybe the school's finance department went to several banks at an awkward time, so some of them were transferred in time, while others had to wait until Monday. Maybe there was a system delay in his text message. It's okay. Yanjika pursed her lips and smiled. She couldn't hide the curiosity in her eyes as she glanced at Lu Cheng's phone screen. Cheng only had a little more than 5,000 yuan left in his private savings. I can't let him book such an expensive hotel next time I travel. Yeah, I'll take the initiative to invite him on a date tomorrow. I have my own private savings too. Receiving the bonus in time before the competition was a big incentive for Lu Cheng. It made him less nervous and more eager to fight. If he could beat Donglin's squad and enter the semifinals, there would be more bonuses. After 2.5 hours at 12:15 noon, the martial arts club arrived at Donglin North Station. They saw the organizing committee staff and a minibus coming to pick them up. Seeing this, Sun Jian and the others immediately recalled their experience in Yimo. They asked fearfully, how many live spectators are there this time? The terrifying atmosphere in Yimo was like it was going to swallow all challengers. Not many, I guess. The staff thought for a while and said, the competition is in Wenxing School's dojo halfway up the mountain. At most a few hundred people can sit. Phew. Li Mao exhaled and smiled at Sun Jian, Lin Hua and the others before settling down. Boarding the minibus, Xianxia looked out of the window with a clean face and suddenly sighed. When I watched professional martial arts competitions in the past, I especially liked and envied those hardcore fans who would follow the team to the away games. Without waiting for her to finish, Lu Qing already knew what she meant. He leaned close to her head and looked out of the window. This can't be rushed. The martial arts club has just risen again. Everyone doesn't have such deep feelings. It takes 5 hours to go back and forth by train. I used to think that after I graduate from university and earn some money, I'll follow the Longhu Club a few times during my holidays. That kind of atmosphere and feeling would be great. People came and went outside the window, but most of them didn't feel like students. You might be too embarrassed to do that after you graduate from university. Xianxia thought of a fun scene and smiled deeply with her dimples. If people find out that a team or club's leading player is a follower of the Longhu Club, it will be very interesting. As long as Qing could successfully advance to Dan's stage in university, with his Frost Force and Thunder Roar Zen, he could be the main force in the third level of the North-South Division competition. If he improved faster than that and reached the level of Peng Liyun and Ren Li, maybe he would directly go to the Wuxia Club or the Longhu Club and be trained as a reserve talent. It will also be very embarrassing. Lu Qing thought seriously and said, but now I can make money without graduation. If there is a chance I can ask her to give it a try. She seems to be very interested. Moreover, in another year little Wantan will graduate from high school and the Longhu Club Forum will organize a meetup. It is very likely that they will arrange to watch the competition together. As he spoke, his gaze suddenly froze because he saw a few familiar figures. Isn't the guy walking out of the station Kai Xiaoming? He is followed by Zhao Chong, Qiu Zhigao, Zhang Jingye and his girlfriend Wu Qian, and Wu Qian's 3 roommates. Look over there. Lu Qing patted Xianxia's shoulder. Xianxia stared at him and asked in a daze, your roommates? She knew Kai Zongming and Qiu Zhigao. At this time, Kai Zongming and Zhao Chong seemed to have noticed their gazes and looked over. They waved their hands happily and made a gesture of cheering. Do they count as our first group of fans? Xianxia's eyes sparkled and she laughed in a low voice. Lu Qing answered seriously and sincerely, I think they are taking the opportunity to make friends with their roommates. With the excuse of following the martial arts club to Donglin and cheering for them, they invited their roommates to play in a different place and make friends with them. How clever. I have been roommates for almost a year. How can I not know what they are thinking? This must be Xiaoming's idea. The car drove away. Lu Qing and the others gradually moved away from Kai Zongming and his roommates. After half an hour's drive and lunch, they arrived at the foot of Wenxing Mountain at 2 in the afternoon. Then the minibus went up the mountain road. It took them 40 minutes to reach the mountainside and the main gate of the Wenxing School's training hall. At 3:30, the competition would start on time. Is this another kind of home field advantage? Xianxia got off the bus, breathed in the fresh mountain air and looked up. Lu Qing also noticed and nodded solemnly, yes. Wenxing School didn't deliberately create a home field atmosphere like Yimo. They chose to wait at ease. From the new campus of Songqing University to here, he and the others had spent a total of nearly 6 hours. Although they had caught up on sleep in the car midway, the effect was not very good. Except for himself, the others could be said to be completely fatigued from the journey, and their combat strength had unknowingly weakened by a lot. We should have left last night and stayed in Donglin City for one night. It's normal that we didn't think of this because we don't have much experience. Why didn't Master remind us? Why didn't he make arrangements in advance? Geezer sure walked out of the bus, feeling refreshed. He stretched his body, coughed twice and said, that's right. Let's go in. Is it easy for me to be an undercover agent? Chapter 202. Lu Qing and the others stepped into the dojo of Wenxing School after passing through the dark and cold cloister and crossing the threshold carved with the passage of time. A ray of sunlight fell from the dome, mixed with the color of the glazed tiles. It illuminated the bluestone ring in the center, the training ground around it, and the wear and tear marks accumulated over time. There were high platforms on both sides of the dojo, divided into several rows. At the top, there were seats for guests who seemed to be of high status. Here, it was hard to imagine the unrestrained and ostentatious feeling of the martial arts arena of Songqing University. The spectators were either in formal training suits or in suits. It was as if they were watching an opera instead of a fierce battle. Seniors, officials, celebrities, disciples. Lu Qing could almost guess the identity of most of the audience. Xianxia beside him seemed to have the same feeling. She tilted her head and whispered in his ear, it's like the exchange of sex recorded in the ancient books. Yes. Lu Qing suddenly realized. This was a perfect summary of his feelings just now. In ancient times, when sects had exchanges and sparring sessions, they would invite the local martial arts seniors and officials to spectate. They would also allow their disciples to sit in as spectators as possible. There was nothing wrong with this, but it was completely different from the competition atmosphere that Lu Qing and xianxia had been exposed to since childhood. In those times, martial arts didn't belong to the public. Ordinary people didn't even have the right to cheer. Lu Qing undoubtedly preferred the enthusiasm in his own martial arts arena. He and xianxia shared such feelings and followed Shi into the away team locker room. In a seat on the high platform, Yi Yaoding, wearing a light-colored coat, watched Lu Qing's figure and asked with a slightly complicated expression, "Sister Lan, which side do you think has a higher chance of winning?" The draw ceremony for the Yanling division was tomorrow night. Shi and Jianglan didn't rush back because they couldn't interfere with the final result anyway. Jianglan held her chin with one hand and smiled slightly. In terms of winning probability, Wenxing School is definitely more likely. But Lu Qing and Lin Ke have their own characteristics and strengths. They belong to the top part of the professional 9th pin fighters. If they participate in the Warrior Sage Challenge tournament in the later stage, it's not impossible to defeat those 8th pin fighters who consume a lot of energy. If they team up and take turns to fight, little brother Zhou won't be able to handle it. Senior brother Zhou is a little stronger than Wei Xingtian, but there is a limit to it. Compared to when he defeated Fearless Squad, both Lu Qing and Lin Ke have improved a lot. Yi Yaoding didn't say it clearly, but the meaning was clear. She was worried that Zhou Jingquan would lose more cleanly than Wei Xingtian. She paused and asked half curiously, "Sister Lan, do you think it's possible that Lin Ke has entered the Danqi state?" "It's not that easy to reach the Danqi stage." Jiang Lan laughed. Lin Ke only grasped the meaning of withdraw at the end of March. Up until now it has been less than 2 months. Speaking of those painstaking efforts, he can't finish them. It took me 7 months to grasp the meaning of withdraw and step into the Danqi state. No matter how talented he is, he can't build a tall building from scratch without 3 or 4 months of foundation. I see. Yi Yaoding nodded thoughtfully. Then Wenxing School has a better chance of winning. Junior brother Ho, senior sister Zhua and senior sister Li are all strong 9th pin fighters. Especially the former, she didn't dare to say that she could win for sure. In the away team locker room, Shi noticed that Li Mao, Sun Jian and the others looked tired. He let out a sigh and attracted everyone's attention. "Little Yin, what strategy do you think Donglin's squad will use? How will they line up?" He pointed at xianxia with a smile. "Don't be shy. Analyze it for us." "That's right. Koqian, why don't you say something?" Guqin couldn't help laughing. Xianxia was confused and bewildered by the crowd's laughter. Her pretty face turned pink, but she didn't decline and said generously, "I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. Donglin's squad must have seen the video of our match with Fearless Squad. They will definitely find a way to restrain Lu Cheng's abnormal physical strength." Speaking of her boyfriend's abnormal physical strength, she couldn't help but laugh. Then she despised herself in her mind. "Xianxia, if this was a speech, there would be no way to save your laughter. You weren't like this before." Lu Cheng put on an innocent expression and mouthed silently, "What's so funny about this?" Xianxia glanced at him, took a deep breath and continued seriously, "It's hard for them to determine the order of our battle, so they can't arrange Zhou Jingquan, an 8th pin Dan stage fighter, according to the order of Lu Cheng and Lin Quebec. I think they'll compromise and let Zhou Jingquan be the second to fight. In this way, if we fight Lin Ke first, he will fight with Zhui Yanjun, Li Xingnan and Hou Yu, 3 strong professional 9th pin fighters. If there are no accidents, it will be difficult for him to win quickly. That is to say, he will consume a lot of energy. And if he faces Zhou Jingquan in such a state, it's hard to say if he can open up the situation for Lu Cheng. Once Lu Cheng faces Zhou Jingquan, who is almost in perfect condition, no matter how good his physical strength is, he can't show it. If Lu Cheng goes first with his abnormal physical strength, he may be able to challenge Zhou Jingquan in his best condition and create a chance for Lin Ke to win. But Lin Ke's physical strength is only average. After a fierce battle with a Dan stage fighter, what are his chances of winning against the remaining strong professional 9th pin fighter of Donglin's squad? But we still have senior Sun Jian behind us, so we still have a chance. Listening to Xianxia's detailed explanation, Sun Jian, Li Mao and the rest nodded slightly. This was indeed the strategy that the Donglin battle team was most likely to adopt. Although it was a moderate strategy, it was effective enough. Besides, they also silently complained, Although we all know that Xianxia is Lu Cheng's girlfriend, don't show too obvious bias when you analyze. Don't always say that Lin Kei's physical strength is ordinary. Abnormal people like Cheng are abnormal. Are you bullying a single dog? Be careful not to affect the harmonious, lively, stable and united situation of the martial arts club. Feeling everyone's meaningful gaze and her cousin's inexplicable gaze, Xianxia couldn't help but reach out to touch her slightly hot cheeks. Was my analysis just now wrong? Why is everyone else so inexplicable except Cheng? She restrained her doubts and finally added, in addition we have to pay attention to Hou. He maintained an undefeated record in the previous group matches. At most, he took the initiative to quit because of excessive physical strength consumption. He hasn't shown his limit yet. In other words, no one knew whether Hou had one or two more hidden skills compared to last year. And these were all things that Xianxia and Lu Cheng had discussed in private. Good analysis. Geezer sure nodded and smiled. Coach sure, I have one more thing. Xianxia raised her hand to report, blushing. She accidentally forgot it just now. So embarrassing. Go ahead. Geezer sure nodded with a smile. Xianxia quickly added, the unique skills of the water sect are particular about nourishment and endurance. The martial arts derived from it all have the characteristics of good endurance. I believe that Wenxing School's Fly Fall Punch is no exception. Yes, Fly Fall Punch does have this characteristic. Zhou Jingquan can be said to be quite good at restraining the 8th Pindan stage. Since Xianxia had discovered the blind spot that he had deliberately hidden, Geezer sure didn't mind explaining. However, both Lin Kei and Lu Cheng have improved a lot compared to when they went to Yimo. You don't have to worry too much about this. What's our main problem? Geezer sure chuckled. Yes, except for the two leading players, the substitutes are relatively weak. If it weren't for Wenxing School's pride and the fact that they thought they could win under normal circumstances and didn't apply for a special competition format in advance, how could we have any hope? Sun Jian, Li Mao, Xianxia and the others were embarrassed by his words. But it's not even a year of special training. It's good that you can improve so fast. As an elder, Geezer sure comforted Li Mao warmly after giving him a lesson on setbacks. Li Mao, you've been getting better at still stance lately. It won't be long before you enter the entry level. At that time, with your physical fitness, it should be easy for you to reach the level of amateur first pin. Try to reach the level of professional 9th pin before November this year. Hearing Coach Shi's affirmation, Li Mao felt inexplicably excited and moved. Although he did think that he had gotten a feel for the still stance recently, he was still the kind of person who lacked confidence and dared not be blindly happy. He had always been nervous until Geezer Shi's words calmed him down and made him feel a little more certain. As for you Yan. Geezer Shi looked at Xianxia. After 2 or 3 months of training, your physical quality will be improved to the level where you can withstand the internal training method. Remember to ask for one from your family and try to reach the level of professional 9th pin before November. Yes, yes. Xianxia pursed her lips and nodded like a chicken pecking rice. Her eyes were shining brightly. Thinking that she was getting closer and closer to the level of professional 9th pin, the girl couldn't hide her excitement. Lu Cheng's Thunder Roar Zen was not only a fighting method, but also an internal training method. With this method, one could practice martial arts into one's bones and body. The meteor force of the Ji family also included a similar part. The reason why Xianxia didn't use it was because her body hadn't reached that level yet. If she forced herself to practice it, it would only hurt her internal organs. Lu Cheng was also taught Thunder Roar Zen at the beginning of this semester. Guqin, you've practiced mountain moving fist very well and you have some talent. In the next semester, not to mention Yan and Li Mao, there is still hope for you to reach the level of amateur first pin. Sun Jian, if you and Lin Hua insist on participating in the special training in the next 2 semesters, there is still hope for you to get the certificate of professional 9th pin before graduation. Geezer Shi commented one by one and took the opportunity to educate them. In the end, he looked at Lu Cheng and Lin Kei and said with a smile, as for the order of appearance, don't worry so much. Don't forget our original goal. We are here to practice in actual combat. Last time, Lin Kei challenged an intact 8th Pindan stage fighter. So this time it's Lu Cheng's turn. As he spoke, his face became serious. Lu Cheng, you're the first to fight today. Lu Cheng took a deep breath and said loudly, okay. What would it be like to face an intact 8th Pindan stage fighter? Chapter 203. Wenxing School in the locker room of the home team. Sect leader Ni Mingfei was wearing an ancient-style practice suit. He stroked his beard and said, I won't say more. Xuanhuan, you're the second to fight. Do your best. Yes, master. Zhou Jingquan nodded calmly. And I Mingfei looked at Hou Yu, who seemed to be restless. Xiaoye, you're the first to fight. Both Lin Ke and Lu Cheng are very good opponents. Do your best and see how far you are from the top of the professional ninth pin. Hearing this, Hou Yu stopped all his restlessness and liveliness. He said solemnly, Yes, master. In the live broadcast room of Donglin TV station, the host Wang Tian interrupted the guest Lin Maoxing and said with a smile, The front office has sent back the list of fighters in the order. Donglin team has Hou Yu, Zhou Jingquan, and Zhui Yanjun. Songqing University Martial Arts Club has Lu Cheng, Lin Ke, and Sun Jian. That is to say, the first fight is between Hou Yu and Lu Cheng. Hou Yu versus Lu Cheng. Yan Shaoling moved the video window so that it was separated from the live post in the forum and focused more attention on the fight. The list of fighters was fixed, which meant that the fight could start at any time. With Kai Zongming leading the way, Zhang Jingye, Wu Qian, and the others hurriedly entered the training hall of Wenxing School. They were unfamiliar with the place, so they wasted a lot of time before finding the competition venue halfway up the mountain. They almost missed the beginning. As soon as they crossed the threshold, they were shocked by the solemn and quiet atmosphere. They thought they had gone to the wrong place and were stunned for a moment. They looked around until they found Lu Cheng and the others coming out of the locker room and sitting in the reserved seats. Then they settled down and breathed a sigh of relief. It feels weird. Wu Qian whispered in Zhang Jingye's ear. This made him very depressed and uncomfortable. It was completely different from the excitement he expected to vent his feelings. In order to cheer for the team this time, Zhang Jingye had crammed some martial arts knowledge, but he still didn't understand the strangeness of Wenxing School's home ground. He could only explain, different home grounds have different characteristics. A cool wind blew through the mountain, making him shiver involuntarily. He felt like this place was like a tomb that had awakened ancient zombies. It was too old and too cold. Kai Zongming coughed twice to draw back the attention of Zhao Chang and the others. With the subtle feeling of leading a group of elementary school students on a trip, he led them to an empty seat and sat down. At this time, the referee stepped into the ring. After looking at both sides, he said in a clear voice, In the quarterfinals of Songqing Division, Donglin Squad vs Songqing University Martial Arts Club. The first round, Hou Yu vs Lu Cheng. Lu Cheng took off his coat calmly and high-fived Yan Zhika, who was beside him. Don't be careless. Yan Zhika reminded him with bright eyes. Lu Cheng smiled. Don't worry. He mouthed the words, Coach Yan. He and Yan Zhika had discussed the issue of Hou Yu many times. Seeing his girlfriend smile, he high-fived everyone along the way and shouted a slogan. Only then did he turn around and walk along the road, walking towards the ring under the gazes of the silent audience. Come on, Lu Cheng. Kai Zongming shouted subconsciously. He didn't fit in with the surrounding atmosphere, which made him feel like he was an idiot. He couldn't help blushing and whispered to himself, This is King embarrassing. Hearing this lonely cheer, Yan Zhika, Guqing, Lin Hua and the others looked at each other, stood up from their seats and shouted in unison, Come on, Lu Cheng. This was the tacit understanding and feelings of the martial arts club gradually condensed in the previous months. With the response, Kai Zongming was no longer embarrassed. He raised his hands and shouted, Come on, Lu Cheng. Why care about others' gazes? With him as an example, Wu Qian, Zhang Jingye and the others gradually plucked up their courage and made the shape of a trumpet with their hands. Come on, Lu Cheng. Their voices echoed and encouraged each other. They gradually integrated into the group and shouted more and more enthusiastically, echoing with Yan Zhika and the others, breaking the quiet and old-fashioned atmosphere. There weren't many people, but they were firm enough. The audience in formal clothes were a little restless, as if they thought it would be more stupid to do nothing. So they applauded reservedly. In the messy applause, Lu Cheng stepped into the ring with a smile, warmed by the cheers of Yan Zhika and Kai Zongming. Opposite him, Hou Yu shook his legs and scratched the side of his head, smiling sincerely, You are very strong. I'm a little nervous. Can you not talk to me? Lu Cheng laughed involuntarily and nodded graciously, Okay. Sure enough, he is a child under 18? He thought like an old man. During the 3-minute conversation in the live broadcast room of Donglin TV station, the guest Lin Maoxing smiled slightly and said, I've checked the information. Lu Cheng is already a professional 9th pin fighter. Every time you introduce him, you don't have to emphasize that although he has no rank, he has surpassed most of the professional 9th pin fighters. There was a time when I thought Lu Cheng would try his best to develop his supernatural ability and find a chance to participate in the ranking event of professional 8th pin after his body had been tempered to the current limit. Then he would directly become a professional 8th pin fighter. The host Wang Tian also sighed with emotion. Coach Lin, do you think Hou Yu has a chance to defeat Lu Qing? Lin Maoxing thought for a while and said, the hope is not big. But Hou Yu is a seedling that Wenxing School focuses on. He must have something special. If Lu Qing underestimates his opponent, he may suffer some losses, which will have a great impact on the final result of the competition. Wang Tian nodded slightly and said, Coach Lin is right. Our reporter has interviewed several disciples of Wenxing School and found that they are, inexplicably confident about Hou Yu. While they were explaining in Lu Cheng's fan forum, Brahmin said, twisting with arms akimbo expression. These people are so unprofessional. Little Dragon is the best. He found out that our idol got a professional 9th pin certificate on the same day. Unparalleled Dragon King said in a daze, when did I become Little Dragon? Are you going to call me Little Loach in the future? Besides, if you know his name and domicile, you can check it on the official website. After hanging out with girls like Brahmin, Eternal Nightfall, and Wonton Seller for a long time, he felt that his mentality had become younger. Sometimes he would inadvertently act cute while talking. The internet is really scary. Little Dragon, Little Dragon, Little Dragon, how many moves do you think our Lu Qing can beat this monkey? Yan Shaoling asked excitedly. Unparalleled Dragon King replied with a scornful expression. Don't underestimate any professional 9th pin. If there is no unexpected thing, it will be very difficult for Lu Qing to win quickly. Oh, I understand. Yan Shaoling didn't feel offended and didn't mind exposing her IQ in this aspect. In the arena, Lu Qing kept his promise and didn't disturb Hou Yu. He adjusted himself to the best state and finally considered the next fighting strategy. During this process, he vaguely felt a sense of oppression and anxiety, as if a storm was about to come. Lu Qing felt that this was not because of Hou Yu, but because of Zhou Jingquan, who was the second to fight. Outsiders only knew that his stamina was limitless and he was not afraid of taking turns to fight, but they didn't know that his energy was limited. Thunder Roar Zen was okay, but he could only use Frost Force 3 times. If too much energy was consumed by Hou Yu, then when he faced Zhou Jingquan, it was very likely that he wouldn't be able to create the best chance for his brother-in-law to win. I must try to save energy in this fight with Hou Yu. And the best way to save energy is to go all out without holding back and try to win in 4 or 5 moves. Lu Qing took a breath and the ripples in his heart gradually stopped and the water condensed into ice. The referee looked at the electronic clock, raised his right hand and waved it down heavily. Start. Lu Qing was like a sprinter who heard the starting gun. The power that he had been accumulating for a long time burst out. He stamped his feet, straightened his bent knees, and quickly rushed to Hou Yu like a cloud leopard hunting for prey. He knew that in addition to fly-fall punch, Hou Yu also specially visited a famous teacher and learned monkey form kung fu, which was very good at dodging. Therefore he didn't directly prepare Frost Force and Thunder Roar Zen. If he missed, wouldn't it be a waste of energy? Facing Lu Qing's attack, Hou Yu swayed his body like a flexible monkey. He flashed to the side of Lu Qing and suddenly and quickly kicked out his right leg. At this moment, Lu Qing's spine bounced, his waist and back wriggled, and his center of gravity swayed like mercury. He unexpectedly changed his direction in a split second and made Hou Yu's kick hit nothing. He immediately visualized rolling lead clouds in his mind and compressed the corresponding muscles one after another. He turned his waist and back and shook out his right arm like a hammer. Thunder Roar Zen. Hou Yu's face slightly changed. He suddenly fell back and did 3 somersaults in a row. Not only did he pull away from Lu Qing, but he also firmly maintained his center of gravity. Lu Qing didn't show any mercy. He exerted strength under his feet and crushed the black bricks. He chased after Hou Yu. Although you somersaults are fast, you can't be faster than me. Just when Hou Yu stopped, Lu Qing had already caught up with him. He tightened the muscles of his palm, forearm and upper arm and swung his left fist. The second move of Thunder Roar Zen.